nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I will make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Any questions or comments on the consent agenda?
I guess just a quick one. It has less to do with the consent. Just page 14. Find that quick. And I'm sure I'll probably find out about this later during public safety, but emergency medical training, it has 3 names on there. Does that mean we've got 3 more people?
Yes.
Awesome. That's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Those are the ones that are in the packet tonight, aren't they? Those 3?
That's all liquor store.
Hmm?
That's all liquor
I didn't see
store
those in there.
Yeah.
packet.
I think there might be one guy who's transitioning
I
to.
thought EMTs. We were talking.
Yeah, there's one that's currently an EMR that's in the packet.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
these
it.
are separate ones, too.
Oh, are they? Okay.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Opposed? Motion carried. All right, we'll move down. Let me pull this thing back around here. All right. First order of, well, first we got public comment. Anyone here? No one? Okay. We'll go on to, let's see, well, I guess we're doing department business first. Okay, Public Works.
I was approached by a company that
Dale's gonna put the mic on. Sandy, if you could have your microphone too.
I was approached by a company here about a month ago, and they said they would write us a proposal for roof inspections and repairs. So I'll just turn it over to AJ and Mitch, and they can present their program to you guys.
Very good. Yeah, we're with Schwicker's Roofing Mechanical.
If you guys could talk into the mic, we have it on YouTube, so that's how they hear it.
Which page is that proposal on in this thing, John?
21.
Appreciate you guys taking it.
20? Okay.
Sorry. I'm 21.
All right.
Appreciate you guys taking the time tonight, and excuse my elementary level of public speaking ability. Anyway, in the folders you'll see here, on the left side is a list of line cards of all the different services we offer. Roofing, mechanical, plumbing, everything HVAC related, architectural metals. Tonight we're talking about your roofing inspections. These inspections we are approved installers for every roof manufacturer out there, Carlisle, Sarnafil, you name it, we do it. And on the right side of the folder, this is just a one section example of what you guys would have. This budget example would be for 2 buildings. Yours would be a few pages long, obviously, because there's 7 or 8 buildings involved. But anyway, while we're up there, we tell you what kind of roof each building is made out of, how big it is, the RAP score and estimated remaining service life come from the actual findings of the report themselves. Where, while we're up on your roofs, and we do find repairs that need to get made, they break out those repairs into priority A, which would be a hole in your roof, an active leak, something like that should get fixed right away. A priority B would be something to look at fixing in 6 months to a year kind of thing. And then a priority C is we are starting to make you guys aware of a problem that's starting to occur on your roof. And then as far as the budget, we go 10 years out, capital and repair. You'll see on the bottom annual program fees for that particular building, it's $320. And then that $2,500, $2,600, $2,700, $2,800 is just money that we think you guys should have set aside for that particular building just in case some repairs do come up. And then you'll see under 2025 and 2028, the numbers jump up pretty significantly there, and that is because there's sections there that we think need to get re-roofs in that year. And the whole goal of this program is to take that 7 to 9 year estimated remaining service life and turn it into a 10 to 11 to 12 year estimated remaining service life, just by keeping up on top of the small repairs and making you guys aware of everything that's going on up there. As you flip through, that second page kind of shows you what we do, and again, this would just be for one section. The report comes in a whole huge binder, and then as well as you have online access to a whole database as well that includes a lot of this information as well as even more. So again, tells you how big each roof is, what it's made of. We can tell when it was installed based off the serial numbers. Some brief notes about it, like if a ladder is needed to get up on it. If there's an active warranty, we put that in there as well. And the good thing about us is we, obviously being approved installers for every roof manufacturer, we do keep all of your warranties valid. Lists your priority A, B, and C repairs. And then in 2025, we think this roof will cost $134,000 to replace. That number obviously includes a little bit of inflation. We keep that number high just so you guys don't get screwed when it comes down to it. You get CAD drawings of all your buildings and what we call each section. And then on the page after that with the red lines on it, that's some repairs that we found up on this roof. We give you a note about it, where it is on your roof and what roof it's on, if it's a priority A, B, or C, and then what it is and how much it costs. You'll see that there's QR codes in the upper right-hand corner as well. You can scan those with your phone and it'll actually take you to the Google Earth image of the actual deficiency, so you could walk right up there and look at it for yourself as well, which is pretty cool. And on the final page, these guys chose to get one repair out of the 3 completed, so they got a before after picture and it looks exact same as the previous page. And again, that was just for one section of roof. You guys' report would obviously look a lot bigger. And then in the second packet on the right hand side of your folder, you'll find the proposal. Some benefits that come with this program are you get a 5% discount on any roofing service needed in the future. Say on Christmas you guys have a roof leak on this building and you guys need someone out here that day to fix it. You pay one flat rate, so no overtime, no holiday, and no weekend pay. You get priority status for your service calls. So let's say at 9:30 a.m. you guys call in, and at 9 o'clock a different company down the road called in. We're obviously going to divert our guys here first because you're priority customers of ours. And then obviously we're going to comply with your insurance company's requirement for annual roof inspections on new roofs, and then roof manufacturer's requirement to maintain warranties. On the second page is the legal information. And then the third page, another thing that's included in this price is each year they're going to come out here and clean and remove all the debris off your roof surfaces, clean your gutters, interior drains, and your scuppers, and then do some minor caulking if there needs some caulking done as well. Photos of all defects, and then after the inspection, obviously we're going to get that report, the web-based report as well. That has the ability, all the files are formatted in Excel, so you can look back on each building and see the dollar amount that you spent on that building in the past 20 years. It's pretty cool. 24/7 service, and then on the last page, it includes City Hall, auditorium, fire hall, liquor store, maintenance shop, the well houses, the buildings at the aquatic center, and the gazebo, and then the buildings by the 3 sheds by the baseball field there. And to get this program done each year is only $700. And then under that, you'll see an include not to exceed amount of $500 per facility. And what that is that's not saying you're going to spend $500 per facility. What that is that if we do find a hole in your roof, let's say, while we're out here, we'll just patch that repair. We'll give Dale a call. patch that repair just to get his approval in the first place. But that just allows our guys to repair the leak on spot instead of having to make a return trip. And what it does is just save you guys money in a second trip charge kind of thing. So, do you guys have any questions?
I actually have a ton of them.
Shoot.
This will probably surprise everybody here. I'm a construction guy too, so I'm going to have some questions about the contract specifically. Does this contract give you guys exclusive rights to repair? If you find something wrong with it, obviously you're going to be the only ones that are allowed to fix it?
Nope.
No, it doesn't give you
Nope.
exclusive rights to repair.
And then,
Something that we obviously would like to have, if we were up there doing them, not required, you're not binded to have us come out here.
Okay.
You bid it then? Like, if you found just to, not to jump on you, but not so I don't forget, like, if you found something that needed fixing, we usually get like 3 bids, would you guys put a bid to it, or how would, if we wanted somebody else?
yeah,
Kind
yeah,
of depends on the size of a repair.
Right, like if
If
it's-
it's just a little hole, that would take just a little patch.
Right.
We call Dale and say, hey, this is what we find, we give them an approximate price.
But on a bigger,
But on a bigger
Yep.
repair.
Okay.
Yep, we go through that. And it's the same thing if we come off on a roof that's getting to its end of its life expectancy. If you guys need a 3-bid process, that's perfectly fine with us. We're not going to require you guys to use us to replace your roofs either. It's just one of those things that would be nice to have if we're doing inspections and doing all these things, but definitely not required.
Okay.
this will help answer your question too. On that red sheet in your report, it'll obviously list the price, and that's, any repair that is in the red, we haven't done on the spot. So you'd have the choice, obviously, at that point. But, correct. And then also another thing about the contract, it renews annually, and you have the ability to cancel anytime if you're unhappy with us for whatever reason. 30-day written notice, cancellation anytime. It's not binding or anything.
Okay, and that's another one I wanted to get to quick. I'll just skip ahead of that one since you brought that up. I guess and maybe you guys aren't the legal guys too, I guess the way that I read this, you can only cancel it annually within 30 days of the annual date that it's signed. Am I reading that right? That's the way it sounds when it's read. That it's an annual contract and you can only cancel, and that was a question that I had. If we are at any time not satisfied with the service, the way this contract reads, and there again, maybe I'm wrong, it sounds as though we have to wait 30 days from our annual renewal to cancel.
If you give us a call if you're unhappy, that's no big deal at all. The contract might be worded kind of weird, but we've never had an issue with that at all either, so.
Yeah, because I mean, where was it in here?
Yeah, where was it actually?
it's the second page, number 4.
Yep, it's the very last item on
Yeah.
the page.
The agreement shall continue for a term of 1 year and thereafter from year to year. Either party may terminate this agreement effective as of any annual anniversary of the date and execution hereof upon notification in writing to the other party 30 days prior to such anniversary date. So it sounds like you can't cancel except for annually.
That's a 30-day minimum.
Okay.
So if we come out, do the inspection, you hate us, 2 months later, and you cancel it, we're not coming back next year, and you don't got to worry about it, if
Okay.
that answers your question.
So, and
Would
it's
would there be a refund? So if there's no refund, there'd be no reason to cancel them.
yeah, I mean, they're
If you
really
pay
only
in
doing
advance.
yeah. Well, and the reason why I was asking that is because it's worded as basically, this kind of went in line with the, do you have exclusive rights to fix things? So, but the way I read it, it sounds like you can only cancel annually within 30 days of that annual date by written notice. So I just wanted to make sure.
It kind of looks like that protects us as well. If they hate us for some reason, not that,
It works
you
both
have any
ways.
reason to hate us, but if
It
you
works
do-
both ways, but no, you guys can, hey, we don't bill you until after the inspection, so you're not paying us before we come out and do the work, if that makes sense as well.
Right. And then another question. So let's say, as far as housekeeping, because it says in the contract that we're responsible for housekeeping. At any time, if you determine we haven't kept up with housekeeping or don't comply with the repairs that you deem necessary, does that put us in breach of the contract in any way if something goes wrong?
Typically, no, it would be more in line with the manufacturer's warranty, since they're the one that's putting their name on that system not failing. Typical verbiage within a warranty for a roofing manufacturer is to keep your drains clear and all that stuff.
Right.
That's why we throw that in there with our inspections annually to do those types of things. We're trying to help keep that warranty valid by cleaning drains, cleaning gutters, getting the debris off the roof so you're not creating a pond up there that leads to vegetation that could eventually degrade your roof.
I'm gonna go back to the renewal, when he brought up 30 days prior. To me, when I read it different than them, to me, it looks like if you don't do it 30 days in advance, it's an automatic rollover.
Oh, we always call in
But
advance.
you may call, this contract says you have to notify 30 days prior to the anniversary or it's an automatic rollover. That's the way I read that.
That's the way I would read that.
That's why it's 30 days prior to the anniversary date. If wouldn't notify you 30 days, it's an automatic rollover.
To be honest with you guys, I've only been at Schwickert's for 9 months or so now. Mitch might know the answer to that, but I also know that we've never had an issue with that. And we're obviously not gonna, if you guys are super unhappy with us and you're 2 days late and you want to cancel, we're not gonna charge you guys for that.
And this is not meaning to put you guys on the spot. These are things we can ask your office too, I understand.
No, for sure.
Trying to get some clarification, because this isn't something that we've got to decide tonight.
Right.
Yeah. Just another quick question. So I'm sure this is probably obvious, and I'm just not reading it right again there. Is the contract cost $700 for all 12 of these roofs to inspect all 12 of them, or is it $700 per unit?
700 total.
$700 total.
And that includes gutter cleaning and light caulking on all of them,
Yep,
if they need them,
Yep.
once a year?
yep.
And that caulking is, I think it's limited to
Yeah.
25 feet of
Yeah, I don't expect you to re-caulk the whole roof.
Yeah, but also if it's 30 feet, we're also not gonna,
Right, right.
So $700 annually to inspect all 12 roofs, so it's not going to end up being $8,400, okay? And then
And gutter cleaning.
that would give you guys a not to exceed expense of about $6,000, given $500 per building, okay?
and also that number, we'd call Dale before we make any repairs, obviously. So he'd have the ability to approve every single thing we got going on. And that number also is just kind of for you to know, like, hey, we usually do find some repairs on roofs that haven't been inspected annually. And that just covers a couple patches, few patches on each roof, kind of thing. And you guys can set that number at $1,000 a building, you can set it at $10,000 a building, you could set it at $100 a building. That's completely up to you. We just typically recommend on buildings of this size and this many, that amount. But again, that option's completely up to you guys.
Two more quick questions for you. This is obviously just an example building, right? This one here where you guys said the roof was $134,000. This isn't something you looked at?
Correct. No,
Cities, okay.
correct.
Not ours.
Because we just had this one repaired. I was like, what are you talking about? Oh, what's going on here?
Yeah, no.
One more quick one, and this, I don't know that this is anything that'll ever be changed. This is more for the council than anything, because I'm always a stickler unless I don't agree with it. Let's see if I pronounce this correctly. The force majeure of the contract.
Yeah.
I just hate these. It seems like it's become the status quo on a contract, but it's one of those open-ended things when you read down towards the bottom of it where it says, let me see if I can find it on
Yeah,
here.
can you say where it is, please?
It would be on page 23 towards the bottom there.
Okay, thank you.
And it says, causes beyond Schwickert's, I'm going about halfway through here, causes beyond Schwickert's control, where you could be granted reasonable additional time and potential equitable adjustment. And a lot of these aren't really the city's problem or fault either, you know what I mean? So if you were to determine, somewhere to leave I just don't like the idea that it would be an equitable adjustment.
So this force majeure was once the pandemic kind of started.
Yep.
From our corporate, we were told to start putting the verbiage into our contracts. That falls a lot more in line with, call it a re-roofing project.
Yep.
Something in which you are supplying materials at a given date.
Yep.
And if something happens where now it's going to be 12 months away, that's where that equitable adjustment would come in the fact that materials may cost more now 12 months later than it would at the time, you know what I mean?
It would change the price and materials, but not compensation for your company, correct? 'Cause that's where I take issue.
On the roofing inspection aspect side, we're not coming out with a bunch of 2x4s. We're not coming.
Right, no, I'm just talking, if they're in, and I'm assuming this contract would also fall in line with any kind of repairs that we allowed too. This would be the same contract, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so that's just, when I see some of the things on here that could change the equitable adjustment on here, some of them, yeah, I understand, but some of them wouldn't be, that's where you're not gonna change the price that you intend to do something for because materials or equipment or adverse weather, late things like that, you know what I mean? Because that's,
Correct. No, we charge one flat rate, and we have not had one issue on this coronavirus force majeure. Besides, on the HVAC side, about 2 months ago, getting a certain type of filter for one kind of Johnson control unit because they were taking all that filter material, that particular filter material, and making masks with it. But that got solved 3 weeks later, and that was the only issue I think anyone's ever had at Schwickert's with.
you guys aren't the only guys I've battered with this. I'm a very big fan of, if you say you're gonna do it for a certain price, you do it for that price. You get it done for that. If you can't get it done for that, that's your fault. You should have
Correct.
done your homework. That's, I'm in the construction world too. You do it for what you say you were gonna do it
Nope,
for.
and that's why we don't charge off time and material. We're one flat rate, we get it done, and if we can't get it done, we screwed up.
Okay. Those are the only questions I had on the contract there.
So I have a question, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm assuming that you have the same contract with other cities?
Montrose, just signed City of Prior Lake, St. Paul Park. I'd love to get you guys, do you know Wayne McCormick by any chance?
For,
City of Montrose?
no, I don't.
Okay, I'd love to get
We'd
you
love
guys.
references, I mean, that would
No,
be awesome.
Yep, I'll send Dale over a reference list, and, yeah, anything else you guys need, I'd love to send it over, so.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, the way I look at this, you know, I run into things like this every so often too. For the $700, you know, excluding some little pinhole thing that happened, we don't have to have them repair anything.
Correct.
It's our option.
And who are you gonna get to go on all them roofs and clean the gutters for $700 a year?
Well, even just to do the inspections.
Exactly, and clean the gutters every year.
Well, just to be honest with you guys, we're not in the inspections to make money. We do these for Mayo, US Bank, 3M, Taylor Corp, Lifetime Fitness, so a lot of large companies, and then obviously City of Montrose, City of Prior Lake, City of Carver, clients of all sizes. We do this to gain your guys' trust because and our boss, general manager, sets the standard for State Farm and all state and the insurance prices in the Midwest. If they're ever having issues with contractor pricing, they call our boss to get all the shingling pricing and that. We do hold the state contracts for shingle work and then flat roofs, $175,000 and under, which is another benefit to using us. And then you guys also have we are co-op as well. If you guys have ever done purchasing through a co-op, what that does for you guys is if you're in a rush for something, it eliminates the 3-bid process because these contracts are all approved by the state of Minnesota, the Army Corps of Engineers, and one other government agency as well. But again, the inspections, we do that to hopefully get the re-roofs in the future. And then, just to be honest, again, on the re-roof side, we're not the cheapest company out there, but it's going to get done, and it's going to get done right. Everything comes with a 2-year Schwickert's warranty, and we stand behind all our work always. So
How long you been in business?
since 1906.
Yep, I just looked it up, 111 years. I was actually gonna
Yep.
ask, why haven't you guys, have you approached Silver Lake before?
You look so young.
Well, not you personally, but Schwickers.
I couldn't tell you. I just started 9 months ago, so
Okay.
just kind of getting my feet in the water up here. So.
Great.
Yeah, that whole point was that was the reason why I asked about the exclusivity. If you guys, you know, if the city were to go with this contract, would you guys, you know, would it be exclusive that you do the repairs on there? Because for me, it's always kind of a give and a take there. Of course, you want to earn our trust, but kind of a conflict of interest if the guys, if exclusively you have the right to repair and you're the guys doing the inspection too, you know what I'm saying?
Nope.
So that's why I wanted to know, because if it's not exclusive, that keeps you honest.
Yep,
So-
absolutely, and that's why we do it that way as well, because we do stand behind our work, and it's just nice because while we're up there doing the inspections, not having to make that second trip charge it does save you guys a lot of money in the long run. So
So I was looking at some of your other services. So you must, I mean, when I'm looking at the power vac services,
yep,
So I mean, as you're coming across, roofing, all this stuff, well, I mean, you must get into, down here, your clothes are gonna dry faster because you're gonna clean somebody's dryer vent.
Yep.
I mean, you guys must get into everything.
Residential duct cleaning, commercial duct cleaning, we do a lot of things at Friedrich, and the things that we don't do, we know a lot of things that can do them. So, we pride ourselves in being almost somewhat of a one-stop shop.
Right, that's the way I was looking at it.
I mean, if you
I
guys
don't think we're
need-
gonna get you for cleaning dryer, but I mean, it tells
Absolutely.
me that you have a lot of resources.
Yep. I mean, yeah, we've serviced Mayo hospitals, all of their buildings, all of U.S. Bank buildings nationwide. Taylor Corp has, golly, I don't know, 150 ginormous buildings, big print shops. But yeah, no, we'd just love to help you guys out, and that's just our budgeting, and we've built all this software in-house over the past 25 years. You will not find another preventative or asset management and preventative maintenance program like this out there with all the information you get.
The other question I had then, the last question, is I was looking at this indoor air quality.
Yep.
Knock on wood, let's hope this doesn't happen again, but if you turn the clock back when this virus and that started and the state had or the country had all this money to use. What I'm saying is, it looks like you guys are set up to actually give recommendations on what could have been, in our case, what could have been done for air quality and stuff.
Yep.
So, I mean, you have like, on staff, I mean, how do you charge for that service?
Oh, gee, for the, like, duct cleaning?
No, I'm saying is because I'm reading your deal here, is we'll make recommendations for your best solution.
Consultation.
That's absolutely free.
So I'm saying,
I'd love to bring our HVAC service manager up here and talk about all the indoor air quality options we offer. We do bipolar needlepoint ionization and then a simmer technology as well. It's a little bit more expensive, but that's a continuous clean, and that uses hydrogen peroxide dilute. Like
I've heard of that, yeah.
Yeah, that one's very, very effective. A lot of hospitals have been getting that recently.
But as far as, he said consultations, you guys are open to stuff like that. If we ever get down the road and it's a resource that John could reach out to you and
Give me a holler.
that's worth something too,
Absolutely. My card is in all the folders, and Mitch's is as well. If I don't answer, call Mitch right away.
So I'm sure, I'm certain you guys are good guys, but I know you're not seeking the city's business because you're good guys. I mean, you're in it to make money. And so I look at the inspection as being a loss leader, and the rest of it comes with it. Then, it's your foot in the door for repair work.
Correct.
And I just want everybody to understand that that's,
Oh, yeah.
No, yeah, I said that as well.
Yep.
We're not in it to make money on the inspections. We do the inspections to
Yes.
get your guys' trust, get our foot in the door, and then, hey, we do give good prices for the repair. So, hey, why not just have these goobers do it while we're here? So,
absolutely.
Would we qualify possibly for an insurance discount on our buildings if we're in a maintenance program like this?
Yep, the city of St. Paul Park just had their discussion with their insurance people about it, and it depends on your insurance company and who you go through. But yes, if you do, especially on the HVAC side, getting that inspection done every year, they look at the HVAC, be like, oh, you guys do that? Because not that many people do, surprisingly. But yep, that depends on your insurance company, but that's definitely a possibility.
The last question I had, and then we need to move on, we have a lot of things. How come we don't have the park building in here?
The what now, sorry?
The city park. You got every other building here, you got well shed, you got everything else, but I don't see the city building in the park.
Is that by the baseball field?
No, it's right in there.
I guess from the list of the, from what Dale gave me and all, but we can add that right now.
What's it?
Two in the park, there's the
Yeah.
bandstand and the steel roof at Boylan Club.
Might as well have it on there, I mean.
right?
South of.
I don't see it.
At 1,550 square feet, is that the steel one? Because I don't think the gazebo's or the bandstand's that big. I wouldn't say
The
that's,
other one's that big either, is it?
No.
it's a little bit longer. I hung some lights up on that thing, I think it's a little bit longer.
Geez, that would be. Maybe. Well, anyway, I think that, if we're gonna do it, that should be on there.
It's all cedar shakes?
Metal roof. So, when do you?
Well, that's,
if
yep,
the-
we'll add that right now, won't change the price or anything.
If the city were to do this, when do you do your inspections?
We'd like to do them, we start them as soon as the snow melts.
So, do you do them once a year or what?
Yep, once a year, and obviously if you guys, depending on when your budget resets, if you guys need them sooner, we can get you sooner, or if your budget resets in January and you just need them by January, we can come out in June or July or whenever you guys want us. But we like to start doing them right away when the snow starts melting.
I'd like to do this, yeah, it's like, get them started as soon as we can, just guys, give you guys budgets for any repairs that maybe need to be done to help you guys get the money, there.
Okay?
I will update this proposal with the cedar shake roof right at the park here. It won't change the price or anything, and I'll send it to Dale tomorrow.
It's metal.
Oh, God, okay, sorry, I misheard you, my apologies.
It's a metal roof. Yeah, it's fiberglass. Okay,
That's fiberglass.
all right. Thank you. We'll let you know, we'll chew on
Yeah,
this.
thank you all very much for your time,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
I will update this proposal tomorrow
Thank
and
you.
get it off to Dale. So,
And
thank
you did
guys
very
much.
well.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you much.
Okay, anything else? Thank you.
Thank-
Keep moving on Public Works. Who's, you got the report there? What page is your report on?
Quick question for Dale on that, though. Does the city already have annual inspections done on any of the buildings? Okay.
Okay. You're up, Chris.
Met with Dale today, we went over that a little bit. And, we had the plow truck fixed, Jerry's transmission, put a rebuilt transmission and clutch assembly in. It was done on time and ready, but we haven't obviously needed it yet. So we're ready for snow. Dale contacted the sheriffs, and they went through a warning light system with the pump houses in town. They had a warning light on one of the pump houses. When the heat gets to a certain level, the light will come on. So now all the deputies in McLeod County know that if we have a light on the pump house, they got people service number and Dale if they can't get a hold of people services, they will contact Dale so that we don't have a failure in the pump houses. And he had the sheriff's office out with that 5-inch snow. He had 14 citations out. And the next snowfall, there were no cars on the street. So it obviously starting to work. And the unshoveled sidewalk list was submitted. And me and Dale are in the process of getting some ordinance references made up for for commercial snow plowers, and garbage cans being out on snow days in the street is a very tough one. So we're gonna try and figure something out, wordage for next winter. They had to put a new heater in the pump house behind the auditorium. That's where the red light came on, and on our maintenance budget with people services, if you see they used a little bit of that, it was for some monitors on the west lift station on the pumps. But other than that, everything is okay and running smoothly. And I guess Dale's here, if it, $776 they used of our maintenance budget so far. That was for monitors on the pumps.
Can I ask a question on the people service? Are we do that?
Yeah.
Okay. So I just noticed that on several of these action items, like the main lift station on page 28, it says they do not have proper PPE, and I'm assuming that's these? Or is there a different meaning for PPE? And it's on several of the,
It's on page 28.
28,
Yeah, I had the same question.
do not have proper PPE.
and it's, I looked back all the way to November, and there was things about PPE as well.
Central decision, do not have proper PPE. Arc flash PPE required.
Well, you gotta have the special goggles for arc flash.
Oh.
We don't have them, so that's where they can't Tri-State in.
Tri-State does that.
Yeah.
that-
So the goggles would be the PPE
Yeah,
also?
You get it,
Arc
like, the
flash.
flash
Oh,
heartburn on your
okay.
eyes, and you're working with other things.
Oh,
So they don't have that,
No, they don't.
but they are supposed to do that service?
I don't think it's in their contract.
Oh. So, they call Tri-State, and
Tri-State,
then they pay Tri-State or we pay Tri-State?
we pay Tri-State. Correct, John?
Yep.
So taking the amp reading from each pump, they call in somebody specifically to take that reading because they don't have goggles for it.
Well, actually, they had to go in there and replace that in the panel, so they're working with 480.
Yep.
They might not even be
Certified to work on.
certified to work on 480, which would be something if we want to check into it, I guess. I'll put that as a note here, and I could check into that with Lee.
Quick question on 24 there. Water meter at 409, I guess I won't, it's 409 Grove there. It says the battery was detached. Or they had to reattach it. How does the battery get unattached?
Gets bumped.
Okay. So it's not something where it was off for a long time or anything like that?
It was off for a few months. Their bills were just estimated, and then when we got the reading, then it kicked back in, so.
Because the meter keeps reading, it just doesn't throw out to your
Yep.
sending unit.
Yep.
So I guess on something like that, you're saying it was off for a few months. How would that not have raised a red flag after 1 month?
Well, so we contacted them, letting them know that it wasn't reading, to contact People Service. Well, people don't do that always right away. So we sent another letter, dropped another letter off, and then there was issues where they had to be quarantined. So then it just put it off.
Understandable there, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions? Otherwise, that should take care of Public Works.
All right. Come on back, Betsy. All right, let's move on to public safety.
that would be me.
You met when?
So, let me see here. We have the Silver Lake Fire Report that I have here, but it's not in your packet.
Okay.
And that was 8 medicals in the city of Silver Lake, 1 medical in Rich Valley, and 2 medicals in Hale. February, they started their smaller live drills again. They were on Zoom previously. And the Zoom training for the new members is going well. And there's a first responder refresher scheduled for April 5th through the 6th, or 5th, 6th, and 20th. Is that what that is, Dan? They had a few repairs on the Polaris 6-wheeler, ordered some shock springs, bushings, and installed by the department members. So that was kind of nice that they saved us all some money there. And then they did have their township budget meeting for the fire department. Was that last week?
Mhm.
And both Bruce, I almost called you Doug.
Don't do that.
Both Bruce and I were there. That seemed to go real well, well attended, and it didn't seem like there was any pushback at all on what you were requesting for the township, for the townships. And then we have the ambulance, And that's in the packet on page 35. And I think you've hired two new people? Or you just interviewed 2 new people?
No, actually, they turned in applications. One's due for tonight. Kind of I'll restate everybody that's in school, just in case I haven't told you in the past. So currently, we have 3 people that we have in class right now that turned in applications. The 4th, she just turned an application in today, I believe it was. And what we're doing with her is she's currently in school paying for it herself because we have talked in the past and had discussions, and she's going to be attending college, so she was concerned that she wouldn't be able to give us a straight year of service. Well, I told her, in the summer we got a lot of people that are campers and all that, so if she's thought she'd be home from college, we'd love to have her work for us. And so what we offered her was that for every month she works, we'll reimburse her for her school over time. And, if she puts in a year's worth while she's going to college, we may end up reimbursing her whole school and then paying her while she's an EMT for us. And I said, my goal is that she'll think Silver Lake's a nice place and want to stay here and buy a house and live here in the future. So that's kind of my plan when I'm working with the young people. So she's number 4 that's in school. And then she turned in an application too, because we're going to include her in our training and tutoring and ride-alongs and stuff and have her working for us as soon as possible. And then our 5th applicant is the one that I need you to approve tonight.
That is Jake?
Jake, yeah, and we're real familiar with him because he's a security guard at the hospital currently, so we've seen him for years and know him, and he's a first responder, and he would take his bridge course and be an EMT for us, but we could start him right away as a first responder because we're allowed to do that. And his work schedule is such that he does a lot of his work on a computer, so he could be here on call for our day shift daily and really help out there, because I've been on alone for a lot of the month, and it'd be nice,
Where does he live?
He lives in Hutchinson. We have Jared that helps us as first responder too, but there's times when it would be nice to have additional help because during the day we're a bit short-handed here with a lot of the people that are gone.
So would that kind of limit him to day shifts for now then, since he does live in Hutchinson, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, some of the people are going to be staying in our call room and doing night shifts and things, but from my point of view is even if he only worked day shift for us, it'd be a great benefit to us. I'm kind of thinking out of the box when it comes to staffing. In the future, I may even approach, some teachers and things, and if they will help cover day shifts, even if it's exclusively in the summer for them, it's still a benefit to us because there's a lot of us that are really busy in the summer, and so that may be an option, but having 5 right now is pretty nice. That's a lot of applicants.
You brought up that there possibly could be a couple staying in the deal over there in the night shift. I thought that's not set up to sleep in there.
Well,
I thought the agreement, tell me if I'm wrong, I thought it was set up to be used as an office and everything, but not an overnight because of the air quality and all that other stuff that was brought up in there. Am I right or wrong?
well, a lot of those problems when we haven't have that done yet. See, currently, we'll have someone stay there during the day and it's not viewed as overnight. And we have a call room where they can stay in there. But many of the things that were an issue on that inspection we had are solved because we have the police office now. Because many of those things were, like, when the police were there, they had to walk outside
I
and go
understand all
around
that.
the building,
Yeah, I
and now they
understand all that,
don't.
Steve, what I'm saying is, I guess I should ask Chris and Jason, is it, I thought it was not set up to sleep in. I thought that was agreed when that was taken over. Tell me if I'm wrong, that it was not set up to sleep in.
It's a catch-22, actually, because I went through that whole inspection with Ty, and the things that they needed was a door that has the gasket, obviously, so it can seal.
Right.
But if it wasn't technically a room where people were going to sleep, I mean, when they're on the night shift, are they sleeping in there? It was the fact that it was a sleeping quarters was the issue with the airflow, is the way I understood it.
Right.
So,
If it's an on-call room, it's an on-call room. Doesn't matter if it's day or night, but if you call it a sleeping room, then it's
Different.
all
if
the
it's
air
outfitted
quality.
to sleep, that kind of changes the rules, I guess.
Well, and we're kind of putting the cart before the horse here. Let's get these guys out of school, and then we'll deal with these issues.
No, I agree with that, but he's the one that brought it up, that they were going
Okay.
to be staying in it.
Said he was gonna have guys in there at night.
Yeah, I didn't say they would be sleeping in there. I said they could stay in there just like our day shift people stay in there.
Right, no, that's fine.
And I have that inspection, and many of those, I mean, probably entirely everything on that list will eventually be done, once we're done, because a lot of the obstacles we had before that prevented us from doing it, many of them are already done. But the obstacles that were in the way before was we couldn't do them because the police were in the office, and that was the main obstacle, was we couldn't get through the building because of them being in the center of us. Things like putting up a smoke detector in that room, I'm going to do because it's a great idea, and a carbon monoxide detector, I'm going to put that in there whether we're sleeping or not. And it's just things that it's on the list to do, and they'll all be done. It's just not the first thing I have to
Right.
do.
And I guess I'll just let it go, but all I'm saying is let's get it, if you're going to turn it into that, get it all done, get it signed off, and bring it to us, and then we'll talk about it. Get it all done, get the inspector to say it's good enough for this, and I don't think,
Yeah.
bring it to a council meeting, I don't see where there's going to be a problem. I
Yeah.
just want to make sure it's healthy and right for everybody that's in.
No, it'll be healthy and it'll be right.
And signed off in case somebody gets hurt.
You know, my main thing right now is I want to deal with my staffing issues.
Sure.
That's not a problem that we have. The room is not a problem that we have.
One more just quick question on the ambulance there. With the fourth applicant that's going to college right now, I just want to make sure, so reimbursing her, how will that work with I mean, obviously that's going to come out of the training fund, correct? So is there a fund that pays that pays her?
It won't be any different than the other three people we have in there. We budgeted for it.
Right, but I mean, do you just write a check straight out of the training fund to reimburse her, or how would that work?
Yeah, so you would just see it in there as a payable to, that individual that, and it would be 1/12, of their training or
Right.
whatever it is.
Yeah, it would just be a typical budget thing. Because when we were budgeting, we were anticipating hiring people because we needed to.
That's great.
So right now, like I said, we got 5. I only mention that and just because it's something down the road, it'll happen, just to have you aware of it. Until they pass the national registry, it's not anything we concern ourselves with. Our main focus right now is helping them get through school, and then we're gonna help them pass that registry, because a lot of times we lose half of the people that apply because they don't make it through. So we're setting up a training program, trying to have a higher success rate so that we get everybody that applied. So we're focused entirely on that right now. And then once we got them, then, where they'll stay and,
Well, I like the way you got it set up, that they get reimbursed based on them calling it what you want, working for the ambulance, not just getting reimbursed. They gotta put something back in order to get money.
yeah,
That's just the one applicant.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, the one on here, I see, yeah.
Yep, because she
Yeah.
has the extenuating concern that she won't be able to give the whole commitment in 1 year chunk.
Oh, that's what,
Yeah, well, the way I viewed it was, since everybody else we pay for their schooling, and they have to reimburse us if they don't pass. And she's paying for it because she was honest with us and told us that she's going to be in college. Well, I thought, you know what, if she's paying for that, but she ends up putting in a lot of months for us, we want to reimburse her, because if she ends up doing 12 months for us off and on, well, then she's no different than everybody else.
Right.
And that way, like I said, I'm trying to reach out to young people, bring them in here, let them know Silver Lake's a good place, and we want them hopefully to stay here and bring their, have their families here.
sure. Okay, let's,
So are we going to look at this applicant now and?
yeah.
Yeah, Jake needs to be approved now, because we can put him to work right away.
This isn't the college one, this is a,
No.
Right.
so if you want to move,
So I move to approve the application for Jake.
is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
And the other thing that I wanted to say is I got this wrong. That was not the ambulance report. That was the sheriff's report.
Yeah.
I don't, huh?
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah. So I guess I don't have an ambulance report for you.
Oh, yeah, we didn't get that this time, I guess.
Oh,
Okay,
okay. We'll figure out where we went off the rails on that one. I'm sorry.
Okay. Anything else on public safety?
Just the sheriff's report.
Okay,
As you can see, that is on page 35. And it's got the total hours billed, 171.75. They're not up to, the contract hours were 31? Is that, or is that contract? I'm just trying to figure out this report. I'm gonna have to talk with him a little bit more, 'cause
contract, if they were fully staffed, was 50 a week, right?
Yeah, the ones that they call contract calls, that's just like when they're doing paperwork and things like that. It's not an actual
Got it.
call going
Oh,
on.
that's part, yeah.
okay. So yeah, but 51 hours a week, so 171 hours is divided by 4, that's 40, that's
42 hours a week?
42
something like that, I
hours.
guess.
And
It's
is there any word on whether or not they've had interest or were able to hire a new person yet? Just
And I'm gonna have to
struggling?
talk to him on that.
Okay.
So I think that's it on public safety.
Okay. Anybody else, nobody else has anything else? We'll move on to the next one. As soon as we get back there. Municipal liquor store.
All right, so I talked to Daryl on the 8th last week. And so they are having the ice golf tournament. It was really nice that all those pieces came together so that could happen. It looks like a lot of people are pretty excited about it. So that's this Saturday, right? Saturday? Yeah. Municipal off and on sale is just an update in the times for that. I don't know if you guys saw the 2 promotions he did on Facebook. He did a couple of videos. They were pretty cute. I thought they were pretty good. They're in the process of changing the Pepsi dispensers to Coke dispensers in the auditorium. And that's just to make things a little more efficient because they have Coke dispensers in the Muni, in the liquor store. And so this will make it easier because the Pepsi syrup was kind of going bad and then they'd have to replace it. So this will just be a little more efficient because then as it gets towards expiration, they can move it back over and use it. So the Hutch Theater, planning the show in April, and you'll see there is a request for council action for that. That is also, I'm really excited about that and looking forward to that. So hopefully that everybody else agrees that that's an exciting thing to happen. There are also the 2 employee evaluations along with wage increases as council request for action, council action to approve the hiring of another bartender, and he has continued to do calling and recruiting for more part-time bartenders. And the municipal liquor store did have a profit this last month. So
I had a question on the theater thing, as I was looking at that. So obviously, which is good for the theater, he has no bookings for nothing up there during that time. So basically, which is fine, it's going to get used, and I think that's huge.
yeah.
They're basically going to have it for 20 days, starting on the 5th through the 25th. I mean, maybe not every day, I'm not saying
Right.
that, but, so they're going to take it for 20 days. How many times, for $800, how many times are they going to have to clean this place?
I believe that they were going to take care of that.
Okay? So, I mean, that could add up to quite a bit, couldn't it?
It possibly could, but yeah, I believe when I was talking to Daryl, he made it sound like they would take care of that themselves.
Okay?
So I am pretty excited about this too. I'm glad it's getting used. I did just break down some things though when I saw the $800 charge that right around the hours that are on here, right around 51 hours, and then the setup and takedown, I would guess that's going to take them probably 7-8 hours probably to set up, and then again to take down. I was just adding it all up. It's, I don't know, ballparking at about 65 hours. That's about $12 to $13 an hour to rent it and have it for around 15 days. So I am excited about it. It does seem a little bit under, but glad that it's getting used.
Yeah, that's like $12 to $15 more per hour than it was getting sitting
Yeah.
empty.
Yeah.
And then then I noticed that the Board of Appeal equalization hearings April 5th, and I noticed that that's one of the days on there, but that shouldn't. If that's going on down here,
Yeah.
if they're setting up, is that going to conflict
Stage
at all?
setup, yeah.
That's a good question. You said the Board of Appeals on April 5th?
Yep.
Okay.
That's their first day. They want a stage set up, it says, during the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, and then I don't know if any of the, trying not to be biased here, I don't know if any of the pool teams have contacted. They typically do have a pool tournament around that time too, so I don't know if they've contacted the bar on that at all. But
So have they done this? I'm sure they haven't done this play, but have they done something similar to in other areas before?
Yep, so I actually looked on their website, and they had 2 previous plays listed, and I believe the reasoning that they gave to Daryl to do it in Silver Lake was that the locations they had previously been at were just proving to be way too costly, because it's a not-for-profit organization, and so they were seeking out more cost-effective
Did
solutions.
they do this in Litchfield by any chance?
I didn't.
I think I might have been approached by this group a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I didn't notice I thought the 2 that I saw on the website that were previous were both in Hutchinson, but I may have been mistaken.
Well, I mean, it's going to bring some activity to town. Now, there's nothing else going on in there. I mean, crazy question, but I mean, there's no concessions or nothing like that, right? I mean,
Not that I see
I
in
mean, you know,
the,
I was gonna ask that, if we get
Request for
the,
action.
do we get the bar?
well, I was going to say, by the hours on here, starting at 5 and then ending at 10 p.m., they're not going to go up to our bar afterwards.
no, I meant up here as
Up here.
far as, well,
Oh.
John, did you have something?
He did initially speak with them about having the bar open, so he said they seemed receptive to having it open, so it did sound like that would be a part of it.
Okay.
So when the city rents it out for an event, like let's say a wedding or whatever, it's $400, correct?
no, it's 120, it says right there, $125 per day. Or no, wait.
No, I'm talking
That's
about,
what
you're
they
talking
want
about for a wedding.
It's $450 for a wedding.
$450 for a wedding. And what is that, how many days does that usually entail? It's
That gets
Set
the
up-
entire day.
okay.
It's one entire day.
I love this idea. I think it's great. I think it would bring people to Silver Lake too.
As long as they're taking care of the cleanup.
I mean, that could, if we get snow, you know what I mean, it could be a sloppy mess in here.
Could be a mess.
Yeah, they're cleaning up.
And we get the bar, we get everything off the concessions. It's a win-win, I
I mean,
think.
even if they buy pop or something.
Right,
Yeah.
sodas and whatever. It don't take much. Cover the bartender's wage and get people here.
So is there an actual, and if it's here, I apologize, is there an actual contract?
No. It would just be our normal, I suppose, rental contract that they,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
It would be nice to clarify, this is good, it's definitely good and definitely worth giving a try. It'd be nice to clarify that they are doing the cleaning though, before, you know what I mean?
I guess I look at it, to be really frank, if we break even and we get people in the town, we're ahead.
Absolutely.
I make a motion to approve the request, based on, or with the contingency that they're doing the cleaning for all of this.
Is there a second?
Second.
Did you second?
He did.
Second. Any other discussion? Not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And you were saying that, you just want to go back to liquor store, how was their month? We kind of skipped right over that. So they're open, can they be open till 11 now?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that too, what the new orders are from Governor Walz.
It says 10 PM.
It's 11
Or
now,
let it
isn't
till
it?
Page
11.
37, number 2, it says the new hours are 10 to 10.
Yeah.
I think he's referencing that Saturday
Oh, is he?
for
Okay.
the 20th, but now that'll even change because it changed last Friday, and so he was gone already by then. so.
Okay.
I think the governor made 50% capacity and 11 PM.
Right.
If I remember his reading correctly.
Okay, anything else?
Just those other requests for action, so approving the hire of Brody Jacobson.
Okay. Is that a motion?
Are there any?
Do we want to discuss it first?
Well, I just had
Anybody know?
a quick
Okay.
question. I mean, I was reading his application, and I don't, look like he was in high school?
It's
Is that-
Addie's son,
Okay.
and he is in high school.
So he's
from what I
he's applying to
understand.
just stock shelves and things like that, or what? Because that's what it said
Nope.
on there.
I believe he was applying to be a bartender, so he would have a
How old is he?
supervisor the whole time, every time he is in the bar.
I think when we changed all
He's
that.
18.
He has to work with a 21-year-old though.
Yes,
There always has to be two
Yep.
on,
that is correct.
when we changed all that stuff.
It says that he's, for now, just available Saturdays, working on getting his license, so he will have be able to get to work, correct?
Well, I mean,
Yes.
Okay.
that's Daryl's issue. He schedules them.
All right. Any other questions? Discussion?
Nope.
Okay. I make a motion to approve the hire of Brody Jacobson as part-time bartender based on receiving passing results on drug test and background check, and a starting pay of $10.79 an hour.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Any other discussion? Not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
All right. Next council action request is to approve the pay increase for Addie Cordell and Amy King.
Was that a motion?
I can make it a motion. Okay, I make a motion to request the approval of Addie Cordell's review and wage increase, as well as Amy King's review and wage increase.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? This is when we can discuss it, you know.
Oh, okay,
Keep it
thanks for
moving.
clarifying that.
Okay. If there's nothing else, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Second one?
She did them both.
She
on
put 'em
that.
You can't do them both at once.
Yeah.
Geez, sorry. All right, then,
Amy?
yes. Amy requesting approval make a motion to approve Amy King's review and wage increase.
I'll second.
Is there a second? You did?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. All right, anything else for the liquor store? How's it going? Is it business picking up? Mm-hmm. Is it? That's good. Okay, nothing else, we'll move on to community development.
Planning Commission met on February 9th. We discussed the Main Street lots and whether or not we should move forward with a realtor to try to get these things moving. It looks like you have something to add to that, John. There's some things, couple of people you talked to.
Yeah, so a couple different realtors sent over proposals, both recommending, or both requesting a fee of $3,000, obviously due when sold. One would have a listing agreement for a 1-year minimum, and the other for 2 years. One was just recommending selling it or listing it for $1 under one transaction for all the lots. The other one would be listing for $30,000 with pretty much the likelihood that all you're going to get is the dollar. So reached out to a couple more, and these were the two that replied. So
Yeah, and I had a quick question on that, because I actually looked both these guys up, and I noticed that one had been in the business for 14 years, one for 17. One has a little more experience than the other one. One had been in travel for a while, but neither one of them have a lot of commercial realty experience. It's a lot of just single-family homes and such. So, Edina Realty one, though, seemed to have some more experience, but were they... Was
they
the
both
idea of
do
a 1 year...
commercial real estate?
Huh?
They both do both.
Right,
yeah.
I've looked at their last 20 sales for each of them, and didn't see any commercial sales. I see that one has 3 listed, and I looked up some other companies actually that have a lot of commercial realty listed in Hutchinson right now. But the Edina Realty one was where they weren't interested in 1 year listing agreement.
That's what he said. He would have to have a 2-year.
Okay.
So what's his reasoning that he'd want to list them for 30, but likelihood you're going to sell them for $1? I mean, what's his, do you figure he's going to get more interest?
Couldn't tell you.
He's probably along that theory that, if you put something out by the road and you say free, it stays there for a while, but if you put it out there and say $10, somebody steals it, so, they think it's worth something. What I found out about this property here is there were a few people, I think there's, the new favorite word out there is misinformation on this. I heard that there had been some people thinking about it, but they were told, rumor, that the taxes were outrageous. So I looked up the taxes on it, and they aren't. They aren't outrageous.
But those are bare lots.
Not on an empty lot. Put a $250,000 building on it, and they're $9,000 a year.
Is that about
Okay,
right?
see, this is along the lines of what I heard.
Because I
yeah.
went to the county from a person who hit me up about it, and I found out from their mouth how much they'll be.
Is there anything that we can do about that?
Yes, there is. We put that into place last year, that we can give them a break on part of it, on our city portion, if we want. If someone comes in, commits, we have the power now to give them a tax break if we so desire.
It's good to know.
So on the 9,000, it's probably, the city part is probably 3?
5, I think.
Yeah.
About
Was it 5 with the
Yeah.
school and
5.
everything in there?
Yep.
Yep.
Well, that's where I was going back with the TIF, the tax increment financing. That kind of revolves around the whole thing, right?
If we're gonna bang on this a little bit, what do we want there? Because I have someone interested, I was gonna ask to hold off on a realtor for 30 days, because they were just out Sunday looking at it. I'm getting some info from John for specs and setbacks. What do we want there? What will we let go there?
Well, so, you can go first.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
I mean, do we want retail? Do we want storefront? Do we want,
Well, I wanted to ask another clarifying question. Is this the same property that somebody had looked at developing, turning it into like a housing facility, or a housing complex for elderly?
Yep.
And they had issues with water pressure or something like that?
there wasn't, but there is.
Okay, so it
That's not why
cannot,
they didn't build it.
No.
oh, okay,
They didn't build it not because of that.
okay.
All right.
But I think the council would all look at, you're asking what we'd want there, I think that's the first choice, but I think we'd be fools not to look at other avenues. I mean, if somebody says, what do you really, I mean, I'm just speaking for myself, what do you really want on there, just like what you had said, but you know what, if somebody else is willing to put something on there, get those lots filled, get it on the tax roll of some type, we gotta be open-minded.
I mean,
So, yeah.
this was proposed to me to poke. He's thinking of building a building, property line to property line to the sidewalk, setback on the alley with overhead doors in the back, build to suit inside, for rent, storefront, with maybe warehousing or manufacturing in the rear. Building
Anything
as
that-
big as that lot.
If it brings tax money and jobs and people, let's
I mean, that's-
get it moving.
Not a brothel, so.
Yeah, I mean, he's serious.
Not a-
Well, I mean, I think, that, you know, you're right. But there's also, we're all on the same page. Well, we don't want a white elephant sitting there that's galvanized metal and just looks like, ugh.
Right, and he was talking frost footing, stick
Right,
frame
you know what I'm
building
getting at, something that's gonna be appealing.
with a nice front, with a very nice street appeal.
Right.
But then you got alley appeal in the back where the overheads would be, you know, so you can alley access, alley load, alley whatever. And
Yeah.
if that's something we're willing to look at, we may have a proposal next month.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but once we have a proposal, doesn't it go through planning and zoning then for them to just say, this is cool, or
Well,
or no?
it don't pay to do all of that if we're all on a different page.
Oh,
If I
gotcha.
kinda just have an idea, a feeler, I mean, that's all I'm asking is feelers. If he brings something to the planning and zoning then, because I'm hopeful that they want what we want. And if they know what we want, they can approve it faster, and we can approve it faster.
Because, I mean, that goes in the same thing as these two realtors. I mean, I think we're all in the agreement that we're not gonna sell that to anybody for $1 and then they sit on it for 5 years.
Right,
There's a
Yeah.
time frame on it, right? I mean,
right.
Yeah.
It's gotta be a stipulation.
stipulation that they got X amount of time to put something up on it.
That was
Right.
kind of the thing before with the council is, didn't want to give up that bargaining chip. Don't want a sore thumb there and don't want to wait 5 years. Don't want to just hand the property over. That was kind of what the council had discussed before, so.
Right, okay, so I know my information I need to forward.
So you're requesting that you would recommend that we hold this
I
until the
would-
next meeting? which
yes.
we sat
Table
there
it.
for 3 years. What's one more month?
What's
Table.
30 more days?
Right.
I mean,
I don't disagree with that because actually I wanted time. I didn't get time to talk to John today. I had actually looked up commercial realtors that do a lot of business in this area, and I just want to talk to him about some of those companies that I looked up
Right.
and how much experience that they have. So,
yeah, I didn't really care for them terms either that they had here, these guys.
do we need a motion to table, John? Or are we just,
No, not really, do?
no? Okay.
Okay.
Planning Commissioner had recommended having purchasers pay costs. We discussed the campground. Seems like there's a great feel for that there too at the Planning Commission. Everybody's liking the idea. The civics are interested. There's a potential that another group in town is interested. I won't say their name yet. It's a great local organization here. I won't say their name until I hear back from them, but they were also possibly interested in helping out, whether it be financially or whatever. So, and I've been working with somebody and also working on trying to do, and I will get with John, trying to do an overlay so we can bring everything back to the
Did
Planning
they get the
Commission.
costs kind of put together too? Or your thought process of whatever the cost may be to do it?
It's not gonna cost a whole bunch, because it's gonna start out pretty basic, but we are, if the other organization gets involved, which I'm waiting to hear back, and I probably will at the next meeting, I mean, there's a possibility we could start it out with more than 4, but John had also is going to look up regulations on legally what we can do, the size of the lots, how far they gotta be apart, how far a shower would have to be, and how many over, so John's gonna look into all of that.
So you're looking at 4, is what you're saying?
We're looking
4
at
sites?
4 if that's what the rule is, and that would be a basic start, just for
Okay.
a dump station. We already have water there, right? There's water, just need to be tapped out for a fill station. And then, if this other group got involved in financially, it could be more than 4. We'll find out a lot more at the next meeting, so.
Okay, great.
talked about the farmer's market uptown, discussed liability issues of it being there, and getting some people in there, so,
Where would that be?
on these lots that we're talking about right now.
Oh, really?
Just maybe getting them used while we're waiting
Right.
for them to sell,
Absolutely.
so. it was
So
a
why would
great
there be a
idea.
liability and why was there a concern?
Just a concern that because it's on city property, so if we have these vendors setting up on city property, somebody got hurt.
Wasn't this, is it any different than Polacheski days when they set them all up in the park?
You got a rider for Polacheski days, I would imagine.
Is there?
Yeah.
So you're checking in on that? Okay. Super.
So, and those were the three main topics that we discussed in length, so things are moving along pretty well, I think.
Okay.
That's all for community development.
All right, super. Go back, up here, admin?
Treasurer's report included. If there's any questions on that, feel free to ask. McLeod County is planning on doing another GIS aerial photo in 2022, asking that cities have previously participated to send a letter, basically of intent that we plan to participate again through their cost share. So it's 50% cities, 50% county, and then they break it down based on population. In 2018, we paid $845. They said based on pricing, probably to budget for around $1,000 for 2022. We use the service for a lot of zoning items, locating property information, building permit items, helping residents with that. I know Dale used it for locating like water mains, or not mains, valves. So it's a pretty useful program. If we were to try to do it ourselves, it's obviously pretty expensive, so it's nice that we're able to use it, and residents can use the program as well, so.
This is probably going to sound like a jerk question, but what if we were to not pay this? Would we still have access to it?
Yeah, we would, but I think, we obviously use it quite a bit, so if cities were to quit paying for it, I don't know that the county would keep updating it, they might not want to fund the whole thing, so.
Is there a reason they don't go to the townships for it?
I'm not really sure why they don't. I know I'm pretty sure the last time they did it, cities, the imaging, the resolution basically of it was higher in cities than it was in the townships, because, you don't want high resolution farms or fields.
Right.
So that was part of it, but.
Okay.
So if the council wants, for me to send a letter that we plan to budget for 2022.
And you're saying you use it quite a bit?
Yeah, I use it all the time.
I
And
used it today.
Dale will probably use it more and more as, Jared helps and gets some of that stuff mapped out, so.
So where would you put that in the budget?
I think when we did it in 2018, it was just under the community development, like a contract service.
Okay. You need,
Might not hurt to have a motion if somebody wanted to
motion?
make it, yep.
yeah.
I'll move that we approve this up to $1,000. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Up to $1,000 for the, what is it called, GIS aerial photo?
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried.
Next, going through the lawn meter policy that I've kind of developed, looking for feedback. Got a couple different options there. One would kind of keep it the same as we currently do with the deposit system, and then the other one would be just more of a, upfront cost, pay for the meter, it's yours, type of deal. And then I had a form that they would submit when they wanted to sign up for the service, and then did a form for when they submit their readings, so they'd be able to submit it twice per year, and that's when we would issue credits as well.
So John, you deal with this. Which one of these do you recommend?
That was what I was gonna ask.
The easiest way is probably just to have the upfront cost and not have to deal with deposits.
Option 2?
Yeah, would be option 2.
Much buy the meter.
Yep, you buy the meter, it stays at the property. Well, and I guess if they wanted to, they could take it with them, you know, but yeah, they're purchasing the meter.
Does that have a cost in here? I don't know, I'm missing it here.
So our current fee schedule for meters are the actual cost of the meter plus 5%. So I think it's probably $250 to $275 for a meter.
And if you already have one, you just forfeit what you already paid and you own it?
Yeah, if they already have one, they can keep using those. They would just forfeit the deposit. Yep, and they would be notified of that you could either turn it in, get your deposit, or if you want to keep going, just know that your deposit isn't there anymore.
So a meter doesn't stay with a property when it's sold, but does it stay, let's say if somebody switches homes in town, does it stay with that person when they switch homes? Or do they got to do another deposit for the different address?
I mean, I suppose if they wanted to move houses within the city, they could take the lawn meter with them.
So how is the lawn meter going to be set up versus, how is it different? Is the meter itself different than what we have right now?
It wouldn't be a remote read meter, so they would still have to,
It would be a remote or would not?
It would not be a remote read meter. So they'd still have to give us the readings.
And even the $250, $275 ones would not be remote
Yep,
either?
they're not, no.
And then, John, I didn't see, if they don't fill the form out in that, the reading out twice a year, do they lose the reading?
So that's at the bottom. So if you look at option 2 on page 47, at the bottom of the page, it says,
Oh, I was too far.
if they haven't turned it in for one calendar
Yep.
year, the account would be closed. If they wanted to reopen a closed account, they'd have to pay a $30 fee. And then any readings that they turned in after they had reopened that, we would base it on the rates of their last submitted reading, because there'd be no way to know when those were used. And so if we had increased rates and now they're getting credits higher than what they should have been, so that would just be. And, you know, obviously, we're going to send out reminders for people to turn them in
That's
and
what I was
all
just
that
gonna
good
ask.
stuff, but people still don't all the time. So this gives them more of an incentive to get their meter readings in. And
If it's in July and December, you send out a month in advance a reminder, hey, you got your.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yep,
all right.
Yep. It would likely be on the prior month's utility billing.
I make a motion to approve lawn meter policy option 2.
Is there a second?
Second.
Yep, I'll second.
Any other discussion?
Sorry, Chris.
So, if someone didn't turn in their readings and it's closed, you charge them $30 to reopen it, but they're not paying $30 to start with. So if somebody came in tomorrow and wanted a meter, there's no fee to open an account.
No.
You gotta buy the meter.
You gotta buy the meter,
Yeah.
but you already own the meter, but if it ends up getting closed, you gotta pay another $30.
Yeah, I guess I looked at it as an incentive to get those readings in. If people are going to wait and not, turn them in, then, I mean,
So-
that can change. We don't, it doesn't have to be $30, but
Well, it's part of this, I mean, if we pass it, I'm just curious how it's set up. That I know what you're getting at is to get people to turn it in. Mm-hmm. So,
and I'm sure, not to speak out of turn, but I'm sure we're going to find out things, as we go through this that, oh, yep, didn't foresee that, and so we
Right.
might have to tweak it, but.
so my last question, so what's because I purchased one. What's a freeze plate? I never even was offered anything on a freeze plate.
It's on the bottom of your meter, so if
But I mean, it says 5% will be charged if one is needed. Your deal, the actual
if you
cost-
break
If
it.
it's broken, if it freezes and breaks.
So it just pops, right? Just like a frost.
The bottom breaks so
Pops
that
open.
the inside part of the meter doesn't break, which is obviously a lot more expensive, so.
Okay, looks like you got everything covered. Okay, no other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed, motion carried. So this will go into effect when?
We'll get out notices to all the current lawn meter owners, to give them the option to stay in, but likely, yeah, we'll get everything ready by spring this year so that people can start using it.
And the last question I got, they're the same meters, so there's no advantages. Sounds crazy, somebody to turn in their old one and get a new one and get their $150 and get a new one for another $100.
Unless they had concerns that their current lawn meter wasn't reading correctly or something, but no.
Okay.
Yep.
Right, thank you.
Bucks.
It's what?
They were never $150. I got mine.
I'll guarantee they're $150, because that's what I paid.
I paid $250 and that was
I
2003
For a brand new meter?
I
For
got
a
it.
regular water meter or lawn
for
meter?
the lawn meter. I paid $250 for that.
I don't know, I just paid what I was told. Came on my bill, came on my bill.
Okay, update on the city emails. I think we've got most of the kinks worked out with that, so I've got a list of all the different positions that have cityofsilverlake.org email address endings, and was able to do it without using the tech company that we originally were going to use to implement that stuff. So it took a little more time, but I think we budgeted right around $1,000 for that, so I didn't have to spend that. But.
have a question for you. Are we all connected then? Because we all have the same, address basically, except for the first part? And my question being, sorry, is do we have a contact list so that if I want to email him, even though I'm emailing everybody, I don't have to look up what his is, it's a contact?
It should be if you
Okay.
start typing it in, but if it doesn't, I can look and see on the
Okay.
back end and see if you guys can view
Sure.
all the contacts in our group. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Mine didn't. I was gonna send you an email. I started typing in. I forgot what yours was, so I had to go back.
It didn't automatically?
Was that the
Okay.
first time?
Yeah.
After the first time, it should be in there.
Yeah.
It should be, but
Right.
I think what I did is I started to type your old email, and that's why you didn't pop up instead of city clerk.
Oh.
But I do want to stress, from experience, if we're going to send emails to each other on the council, they go through the city clerk. Just, okay. Nothing wrong with sending an email to the fire chief.
Right.
That's different. Okay. All right. Is that it, John?
I think so. Yep.
Okay, we got the gentleman sitting there. All right. All right, we'll move on to old business, preliminary engineering report.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I am Jordan Van Ort from SEH. I've met most of you. A couple of you I haven't got to introduce myself to yet. I'm an engineer out of Hutchinson, out of our office, and we work as the city engineer for the city of Silver Lake. How much of a background do you want me to go into with the project? Do you want to give me want me to give a little background, or
Yeah,
are you
give a
more worried about
background.
the schedule?
Give a background on it.
Sure.
Nothing real elaborate.
Sure. Well, we've been working with the city for many years, and our goal is to provide the city with up-to-date infrastructure that is reliable. We realized a couple of years ago that doing small projects here and there wasn't going to be sufficient to keep the city infrastructure updated, so we started looking for options to do larger projects, and we decided to do a rural development project. And the reason we chose that is because rural development is a way that we can get a lot of grant funding, possibly through federal financing and through state financing as well. So in order to apply for that funding, we have to do a preliminary engineering report. That is basically a report that details all of the city's needs that we would need for roughly the next 40 years. As you can imagine, that costs a lot of money. So as we started going through the report, more and more needs started to come through. Originally, we thought it would be about $10 million, and now our estimate is going to be about $27 million. Now, of course, we understand that a city isn't going to be able to pay $27 million right away, and that's why we're going after all this grant funding. So the spot that we're at now is in 2020, we submitted the preliminary engineering report to USDA for review. I talked to the state program director today, and he said that report will be reviewed sometime next week, so we should get comments back within a couple weeks. After that, the process will be, we'll have to wait for the funding. Funding could come down as early as June, but it could be as late as next year, just depending on where the funding is at. So this is a competitive process with many other communities within the state that are going after this money. So it just depends on where the funding is. Once they get that funding, that would be hopefully sometime this summer, then we could move into final design over the winter of 2021 and 22, and then hopefully start construction in 2022.
Okay, I'm not going to interrupt you because I'll have 55 questions, so I'll let you keep going. You'll probably answer them without me asking them.
So, because of the large scale of the project, I mean, this is going to be covering sanitary sewer, lift stations, water mains, water towers, water treatment, storm sewer, street reconstruction. Because of the limited funds, the state director has said that we'll likely have to phase this out. We're not going to be able to do one large $20+ million project. So his thought was most likely we would phase it over 3 or 4 phases over the next 8 to 10 years, depending on when funding comes in. So we'd have to break it off one chunk at a time. But all that's going to be dependent on how much funding comes in at each time. So for instance, this summer, let's say they give us funding for an $8 million project. We'll look at the $27 million that we've had in that report. We'll discuss with you guys what you think is the most important, and we'll do the best $8 million project we can do right now.
So I am going to interrupt you real quick.
Sure,
because
go ahead, Josh.
page 51, number 3 here, funding and financing. It says in here that, as noted in the information below, USDA RD does not appear to have sufficient funding and financing available to address the city of Silver Lake's needs in the foreseeable future. Can you elaborate on that?
Right.
I know
So-
you discussed before that they felt that they were going to be fully funded. And this seems to be contrary to that.
Right. Every year is different. It depends on how many communities are going after the funds each year. So for instance, I believe the state USDA grant funding is about $8 to $10 million per year. They can get additional funds from the national office because a lot of other states don't use all of their funds. So that would kind of be a second round of funding. But this year they have about 40 different projects that they're looking at for funding. So it really depends year to year. The other great thing about RD, however, is that they also take advantage of other grant funds through other programs within the state. They work together with water infrastructure funds and the MPCA and things like that. So it really depends year to year how many projects there are, and they prioritize based on that list of projects.
So when you're thinking about this from a funding standpoint, that's just USDA. So in a few minutes, I'll talk about the other 3 or 4 options. And so let's say that we get down to 15 million, USDA only is going to fund 8 of that. We have PFA and other things too. So we can do this in one broad sweep. We don't have to think in terms. He's just simply saying that USDA RD at this time, there's limited funding. But that doesn't mean there's not other options.
Okay.
Yep, and David will review that. He knows a lot more about the funding process than I do.
So then expand on that when you're saying the funding. What does that entail? Is that grants, or is that call it a low-interest loan, or what is it?
Well, I'll talk a little bit about RD, and I'll let David explain more details on the funding. From an RD perspective, it's both grants and loans. So RD does provide grants for projects. The other great thing is that they provide 40-year loans so that you can pay it, the payments are more affordable at very low interest loans. So for instance, we did a project with another city. They didn't get any grant funding, but it was still worthwhile to them because the loan rate they got was like 1 1/8% over 40 years. So there's a lot of advantages to RD funding. There's some bureaucratic hoops to jump through, but often communities find it worthwhile because of the low interest loans, the long-term payment, and the possibility for grant funding.
So on your, you're recommending, working with this gentleman, David Kruger, can you get both? Can you get, this sounds kind of crazy, but can you get money from the RD plus the state?
Yeah, so basically, what I was gonna talk about is simply that what I would recommend is you go for the largest project you can find that you need. Then we're gonna go look at state bonding. So, we look at state bonding, PFA, so Public Finance Agency. They also do PSIG, which is $7 million a grant. You got WIF, right, water infrastructure, and so forth. So what we do is we combine all those. We work with USDA rural development, and we say, if the state bonding gives you half, so you're looking at $13.5 million free from the state, just in bonding. Then we're looking at PSIG, we're looking at WIF, we're looking at all the state programs. What happens literally is this: I met with the former state director of USDA today. So he's the former because they're presidential appointees. Trump administration's out, Biden administration's in, but there's no state director yet specifically appointed by the Biden administration. So what they literally do is PFA gets in a room with USDA. There's about 20 people in the room, and they talk about it. And they say, how much money does PFA have? How much money does USDA have? How many grant dollars do we have? How many loans do we have, and so forth, and they negotiate it out. And they simply come up with a formula, ultimately based on that says, here's what kind of a package we're going to do. So in the case of Vernon Center, for instance, their project was about $17 million. After everything was said and done, 86% of their project was grant. State, federal, etc. Now, that's unusual somewhat, but it shows you how things are done that way. So typically, we're going to go after 50% from state bond. Right? So we're going to talk to Gruaga, we're going to talk to whoever we talk to, and have them draft the bills. Has to be into MMB, so Office of Management and Budget, by June 1st. What we would do is, at no cost to you, we're going to come in, we're going to help you fill out those forms, we're going to work with your legislators to get the bills on the floor, and we're going to move forward with that with your permission. In the meantime, we're already on the project party list with PFA, so we would be asking for PFA loan dollars and grant dollars, so that's the PSIG, the WIF, and so forth, to combine the total package. So what USDA requires, in the pre-engineering side, all that information will then shift over to these other grant opportunities and the bonding bill. So if we apply by June 1st, then what will happen is MMB will take those applications, they go to the bonding committee, they take a look, then there's a bonding tour in the summer. Don't know what it's going to look like because of COVID, but it could be virtual, could be a visit, who knows how that will operate. And then that goes into the next session. In the next session, then usually it comes by the end of May, they will tell you whether or not you got bonding dollars. In the meantime, PFA...
They're going to say if you got bonding dollars in the legislature, not bonding dollars to Silver Lake.
I'm sorry. So
by May.
Yeah, so bonding dollars at the state level.
Right.
So for your project.
Okay, they would.
We would know at the legislative session if you got half of what you asked. In the meantime, we would be talking to PFA about PSIG, WIF, we put those applications in, and be ready for that as well.
So the question I have is let's say if you put this whole package in there, let's just say you put in a package for 27 million, and they came back and different ones, well, you're going to get 8 million. Well, what happens then if you obviously cannot afford the other 19 million? Do you lose, how much of the 8 million do you lose then? Let's say you turn around and say, well, okay, that's great, we got 8 million, but we don't have 19 million, we can't find it. How does it work then with the 8 million you were going to get?
So there's 2 or 3 options. One is that you have to prove when you go with the bonding that you can pay for whatever amount under 50%. You can ask your legislators to write a bill for less than 50% match if you so want. It's harder to do, right? But the other thing you can do is scale down from there. So let's say that you get $10 million from bonding, you get $2 million from PFA on WIF and PSIG. Let's say you get $13 million. and the project's 27. You can look.
Sure.
I didn't even think of it.
The wheel fell off of that thing.
Oh, that's what, the wheels came off.
You gotta be an engineer to know that.
I'll just leave that as
My foot or anything for now. So,
Sorry, I should have not been asking him questions without you at the microphone. I
Sure.
apologize.
but basically what we can do is then scale back the project at that point. If you don't want to look at PFA loans or USDA, so USDA, because of its long-term rates and whatnot, you can generally find the affordability. Hopefully then, we could shift a little bit to more grant opportunity with USDA. They're going to know what PFA is doing because they're talking about it in monthly meetings. We don't know about the bonding bill until the activities happen at the legislature. So at that point, we can maneuver. So let's say that you get 13 million in the bonding bill, but you can't do the full project. Essentially what we do is we go back, we change it legislatively, so right now in the next session, we could change things legislatively to have less. So you can scale back your project.
So you have to go into the next.
Right, so you'd be approved in May. Now we're in a new session, we go back, because your construction's not gonna happen for 2-3 years. We just go back next session, say, we wanna change the language here, we want less money, essentially. And then you can do that, scale back your project, and then MMB will be satisfied with 50% match, and you'll be fine. But it's sort of like you have to take a chance at the legislative process to kind of get moving. So you can choose to go large, you can choose to go 75% of what you think and look at another project in 5 years or 6 years. Just kind of depends. The way we look at it as a general rule is if you're going to the legislature ask for bonding, you might as well go with the largest package because you don't know the politics 2 years from now. So 2024, we don't know who the elected officials are going to be necessarily. We don't know what the COVID is going to do to the future budget in 2024. So, it's my recommendation based on what our lobbyists are telling us that you should kind of look at the biggest package you can, and then if you have to pare back, you can.
So in other words, what you're saying and what the legislature is different than what rural development is saying, stage it in different.
Right. So
It's totally different.
Yeah, what USDA is saying is if you're only looking at USDA, okay, we're your only financier, we're your only bank, this is what we can do for you. They're not taking into account all the other activities that are out there, because that's not their job necessarily, is to look at that. They're simply saying, if you apply for USDA funds, here's what we can do, because our budget cycles come in every year. So that's all they're focused on now. Now, once you start applying for bonding bill, PFA and whatnot, it changes the scope of things. So maybe they can only do $8 million, right? But if we get 13 million in bonding bill, right? Add 8 million to that and so forth, right? We get PFA, we get WIF, we start paring down on that. We can get to $27 million. So that would still be correct. They can still do their 8 million at USDA, but we came up with the rest of the funds.
Because I was talking to our representative about this, and he had told me that, and don't quote me on exact dollars by any means, that Glencoe had the project was 21 million. There was no way Glencoe could ever think about affording the 21 million.
Right.
And I'm sure through them deals, he said we got them like 4 million or 4.5 million.
Sure.
through the
I don't know what they
legislature.
asked for at that time, but sure.
Right, but that's an example.
Yep, absolutely.
So, I mean, I guess I look at, that's where I wanted some clarification. I don't know how, I didn't know, it seemed to be misleading here, and it is, when the R&D says you do this in different stages, but the state says you put the whole thing in. So that's where I was confused, which is the better avenue.
I think it's because USDA can only speak for USDA. So they're giving you a term sheet based on what their availability of funding is now. And so they're saying, look, we couldn't borrow you that much or give you that much grant in this next fiscal year. This is about what we can do. We know that if we phase it over this many years, that USDA could handle all the financing.
So with these two Heinz 57 things, does it make sense to keep going after the whole thing with the whole enchilada? I mean, or is it, do you pick your things that you really look at what you can, there's a lot of pressing issues here that we got to address, but to me, some of it might be a crystal ball, too.
Yeah,
27
I
million.
guess,
I don't think you lose anything by applying for it, right?
you don't.
and seeing what
I
you
think-
can actually
I think
get.
The match part is where, as
Yeah,
a general
that's the
rule,
part
what I would say is, whatever you ask for, you're probably gonna get 70%. You're not gonna get 100%, as a general rule. So then if you scale back your project to about that 70% level, you have those matching funds.
Right.
But
So-
I think what he's getting at is, do you start scaling back now, or you wait to see what funding you're gonna get and then decide if you're gonna scale
And the
back?
thing is, you won't know the funding you get. You have to
Right.
apply for a bonding bill.
So go big, see what you
previous,
can
right.
get, and then scale back from there if
Right.
you can't,
Yep.
okay?
But you have to, I probably didn't listen to everything, but do you have to show proof of how you're gonna cover the other? If it's 27 million, you
Right.
gotta show them
So-
how if they're gonna give you 50%, you gotta tell them how you're gonna cover the other 13.5 million.
And it's simple, basically an application, what we say is, we're either gonna do USDA financing, or we're gonna take out municipal bonds and things like that. So you're just saying that basically, here's how we get the matching funds. You don't have to have approval, you don't have to have any sort of certification for your financial advisor or anything. It's simply, here's how we would get those funds. We have borrowing ability to do that. Or cash on hand, or whatever it is that you have.
Okay? Answers most of my questions. I'm sure, does everybody else?
Actually, maybe, how about I just pick it up and then you put the,
John, maybe you gotta order a new table with that new chair.
oh, is that what it is?
So does any of this while you're doing your weightlifting, with the situation with the state and everything with the virus, from your experience, are they gonna cut back some of the bonding and?
Well, again, this
I mean,
session.
you don't know, but what's
Yeah,
the-
in this session, in 2021, they're going to do a very small
Right.
bill, mainly for state program, state buildings, essentially. The budget forecast really doesn't, it shows a small shortfall, but not very much. And so, talking with the chair of the bonding committee and folks that are close to that, they feel that 2022 should be a regular year, and that they will be doing quite a bit of bond work then. So it should be a normal situation, which is why, I'm saying to folks, if you're going to do something, do it now, because we don't know what 2024 looks like. What the political winds are going to be at that time.
So basically, in a nutshell, what I'm hearing you say is go for all this stuff and then see what you can get and start weeding back. But what I was just wanted to be clear on is if you're going for a high amount, that you're gonna lose out on something because, well, you're not gonna get much for bonding this session, we know that. The R&D, whatever this comes back in a couple of weeks, what is that gonna tell us? That's gonna tell us what?
The which one, I'm sorry?
The other gentleman.
Oh, the PR?
That's the preliminary engineering report. That's pure details. That has nothing to do with funding.
But they're gonna tell you, what's that gonna tell us? That it's,
That's purely what they think of the project, any more information they need to know.
Okay.
Once that is approved from the engineering perspective, then we can start looking at funding and see how much of a project we can actually do.
Essentially what, it
USDA.
details the design and the cost and everything?
Yep, it's just a big picture view of the project with cost estimated.
and lastly, and I promise I'll quit, I just don't wanna, what is the expenses as far as the city goes to keep trying to go after a big crystal ball that could take us 4 years to get, that we may not even have a chance to get? I can't bring myself to spend money on something that's way more than we're gonna end up affording to start with. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, look, it all comes down to what you can afford and what you need, right? And so my services, or the services we offer at SEH on the bond side, the lobbying side, the application side, it's all really just free to you guys, okay? We're just out there trying to source funds essentially so we can get the work and then we can do things, okay?
Okay.
So it's no real cost to you, other than the preliminary engineering report,
Right.
which you would normally have to do anyway. So in the sense that you wouldn't do that, here's how it would work otherwise. When you're not using USDA, you're using a municipal bond, You know, you're gonna take the money out from your financial advisor, then you're gonna do the design and whatnot. So you're gonna spend about the same amount of money. You're simply just spending up front because USDA is asking for that description before they lend you the money. It just works differently on the municipal bond side. You're still gonna spend that money, you're just borrowing it later.
So the state doesn't require that?
No, well, I don't know, from an engineering standpoint, who do you have to turn, MPCA, I mean, all the agencies are gonna wanna see design. Okay, but you don't have to do that up front necessarily.
That's what I thought.
So a lot of
right.
times, we'll go to the bonding bill on other projects that are not pre-engineered. We just estimate the engineering costs, water tower, road, whatever, wastewater treatment plant. Then they get the money, then they borrow municipal bond money from their advisors and the market. Then we design it, then we go through the process. It's just USDA wants to make sure you've thought about these things previous to getting grant money and/or funding from USDA. So they just do it differently than you would on the municipal bond market. So really at the end, you haven't expended anything that you unusually wouldn't unless you are not going to be doing projects for a long time. So if you spend money up front on pre-engineering, it's going to be 12 years before you do a project. You're going to have to redo all the budgets, you're going to have to
That's
redo
where I
some
was
stuff.
going.
But more or less, unless there's new materials or new problems on the engineering side, I would assume the engineering report will be similar than it is now, except that maybe capacity issues, environmental issues may change. But essentially, you're not spending really any money you're not normally going to be spending even later.
Okay, you got that on tape.
I'm not saying you wouldn't need to update it later. I'm simply saying the general engineering itself would be pretty similar. So again, decision has to be made, I would say, by May or so. We would need a resolution from the council to apply for bonding. Then I would be working with the clerk, administrator here to actually do the application for MMB, and that needs to be in by June 1st. It's a little bit awkward in the sense with COVID that with other grants, I can do them at home. I just need a password and a username. With MMB, it's specific to your actual IP code. So I have to come to the city and do it with the administrator here to be able to get that done. Usually takes about 3 hours to do an application, not that long. And then we would have all the information beforehand. So really quite simple. During that time, if you were going to move forward, again, we'd be talking with the representatives, asking them to write the bills, get ready for the floor, and we'd be lobbying for those and get them ready. And then if you're selected for a tour, then we would work with the administrator, mayor, council to get a presentation ready and practice a little bit before the tour would come sometime, usually in June, July.
So looking at everything you've been talking about, would it seem like these things could fall into place by a year from this May to start?
So yeah, I mean, funding, so in the next session, that's when bonding approval would happen. Usually again by May, but we had 5 special sessions this time, so who knows? But yes, it would be in the 2022 session, but it's required to apply by June 2021 for 22 session.
See, that's where I get caught up on the catch-22, not knowing what you can do, but yet you're going to go into in theory, the bidding process, but not knowing what money you're going to get.
Yeah, I mean, really, we wouldn't be going into a bidding process. We're simply asking for.
Well, I mean, on this schedule, the
funds.
bidding process is in April of next year. That's what I'm wondering, is if this is probably all that's changed somewhat, or does it still look pretty clear what's laid out here?
That schedule is purely an estimate, assuming that funding happens this year,
Which,
is not a given.
right.
But yes, assuming we got the project funded this summer, we could do design over the winter of 2021 and 2022, and then begin construction in 2022.
So obviously, if the funding pushed the following year, then the bidding would push the following year after that as well.
Yes.
Okay,
And if you have any questions, free to call me anytime.
I probably
have my
will, sorry.
information there, and we can have a session too if you need to want to sit down, and we can,
Yeah.
if your legislators want to meet too, we can certainly do that too, to kind of make sure everyone's ramped up. But we have given them a heads up, just that you're thinking about it anyway, so.
because I mean, the way the session's going, the bonding session, we're not gonna know anything this May. It's gonna be the following May.
That's right.
That's why I'm saying this thing.
Right.
What you're looking at is rural development, which is different
Right,
than
I
he's talking
understand that,
about
but
bonding,
it's
yeah.
not, it's kind of a project one too, isn't it? I'm not talking how long it's gonna take, I'm saying the steps,
Oh, the steps, yeah.
yeah.
And those are design phases, so I don't think
Right.
we're in any problematic area there.
Okay. Alrighty.
David, do you need any approval from them tonight to do anything?
No,
or-
like I said, really, you guys are probably going to want to see the preliminary engineering report first, kind of, look at that, kind of decide where you want to be. What is your really ask?
Right.
Is it 17 million, 20 million, 27, whatever? That's when, then we say, okay, do you want to move into looking at state bonding? If you do, then we're going to need a resolution at that time to move that forward. Then we'll have to apply. We'll put the number you want in there, and then whatever you feel comfortable with, the matching funds, that's the number that you're going to want to apply for then.
So is there any reason you would not want to?
Not want to apply for bonding funds? If for some reason you didn't think you could get matching funds, then I wouldn't, but that's not the case, so I don't see any reason not to. I think your legislators are supportive. I guess there are probably some areas, projects, ice arenas, pools, things like that, where legislators in their districts are saying, we're not going to support that. Then I would say, if your own legislators aren't going to write the bills and support it, then I wouldn't apply for a bonding bill. But in this case, that's not what's going on here. So the legislature is very favorable for water, wastewater. So I think it's within the boat of reason to move forward with this.
Okay. Sorry I took up everybody's time, but I feel much better now. It's clearer,
Absolutely.
Bruce, there are no stupid questions.
Clear as mud, right?
I say explain it to me like I'm a 6-year-old. I don't care. I'd rather know.
And I was really concerned with, after talking with the legislatures about their end of it versus the rural development, like, which route do we go? So,
And we're used to this. So a lot of our deals are USD, rural development, along with PFA, along with bonding money. So this is a pretty normal situation for a lot of our rural communities that we work with. So this isn't a one-off. This isn't the first time we've done this. We have 4 or 5 deals like this happening right now.
was this, and I can't speak for the previous council, was the state bonding that brought up to that previous council? Was it always,
I
don't
know.
think it ever
I've
was,
only
'cause
been here 2 years
Right.
with SCH.
Was it?
but
no, I didn't think that, rural development, that's what I
A
thought.
lot of times, you want the project to be large enough to make an impact. Otherwise, sometimes in the bonding bill, it's not going to get favorable conditions. So if you're only asking for $2 million, something like that, and you're doing a water treatment plant, you may not get the funding. So the larger the project, the more impact it has, the more your legislators are going to look favorably upon it.
Super.
The idea of bonding was brought up at one of our meetings before over at SEH, and I think that it wasn't stressed as much because the project started to grow.
Sure.
It started to grow, and initially it wasn't brought up as much, and when I had questioned about financials several times, and I think as it grew, now it's probably taking on a more bonding
Absolutely.
angle, so.
Becomes more clear over time, so.
Super.
All right.
That's all I have.
Make sure it's the same.
Anybody else have any questions for us? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on here so we get out of here by midnight.
We have, we have the water tower maintenance plan to
Yep.
go over on page 54. So that's
Okay.
part of
Oh, it's
why
part of
they're
theirs?
here tonight.
Sorry.
Yep, no, you're fine.
So I guess this kind of goes along with what Bruce was just talking about. With this project, if we don't know, I mean, does this water tower maintenance plan have to happen if that tower's not getting retired?
No.
So if we don't know that we're going to be able to afford to get a new tower in the future, is this something that has to this water tower maintenance plan, is this something that has to go through right now? I mean, is this something that we should be doing anyways, or is this just basically for the project? Obviously, it looks like it is because it's, if the tower's retired.
Yes, this is part of the preliminary report phase. So this is part of the environmental report that would have to be approved before funding is given. So, but you're correct, if the project doesn't go forward, it doesn't matter. You have to keep that water tower in working order anyway. So this maintenance would be much cheaper than keeping it in working order as it is. Because right now it's working and holding water. With this maintenance agreement, it would be empty and disconnected. It's essentially just making sure that it's going to be maintained and not going to fall over.
So if we don't go through with it, it basically voids this. If we don't end up getting a tower, this,
Right. This is purely for USDA bureaucracy for the engineering report and the environmental report.
So does it, okay, my question on this, and it says an on-site evaluation must be made by who?
Oh, it'd have to be a contractor that you hire.
Okay.
So do we have any idea of what the ballpark number of this maintenance would be? Like how much would it cost to maintain a water tower we're not using?
I'd love to answer that question for you if I knew more about water tower maintenance.
Okay.
I do not know what that cost would be.
Okay.
I would assume based on what I've heard, most of it would just be making sure that it's repainted so that the struts don't rust through.
and what it seems like, obviously, this is just an agreement. If we do get a new water tower, if we don't, this matters not to us at all. This is just, they need this in order to be approved for funding.
Correct, yes, because doing this is going to be cheaper than tearing it down.
Oh, really?
And it's a historical landmark, is it not?
Right, they don't, if you're going to go through the tearing down process, that's going to be quite
Quite
expensive.
large, yeah.
Really?
So this is saying that this is going to be, even when it's not in use, is going to be, have a maintenance plan minimally every 5. How about when it's in use?
I hope you already have a maintenance.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have an actual plan. We get it,
Maybe we could get Schwickerts on that.
We have one.
it's what?
Schwickerts on that.
Dale says we have one now.
Okay.
For-
I mean, don't you have to submit the plan? I mean, when somebody says you have to have a plan, don't you need the actual plan? Or just somebody says, yeah, we'll look at it every 5 years?
That's essentially, this is a bare minimum. This is
This
not.
is, yeah.
This one-page synopsis is not a plan. I agree.
But it says we will maintain it if we
Yes.
abandon it.
Well, it's a
Yeah.
piece of cake. All right. Need a motion on this.
I make a motion to approve the Silver Lake Water Tower Maintenance Plan.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Not, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed, motion carried.
Okay,
Thank you.
could you sign that, John, or have someone sign that, and then you can email it to me or something?
Yeah. No, I was just, the only reason I was asking is if Dale has a plan for it. I just thought maybe you needed the plan, like it's,
No.
this company comes out every 3 years and looks at it or something.
This is it
That's it,
for
okay?
now, yeah. We can worry about the plan later if when the project goes forward.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Easy stuff. All right. Let's move.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for all the info. Let's go to number 2, local state of emergency review. John? That's just, we do that every,
Yep. So, I mean, if we want to maintain our current resolution for the local state of emergency, nothing's really changed state level, so I don't know if you guys have any input on that. Just an update on the late fees for utility accounts. They'll be reinstated starting March 25th. All past due accounts have been notified. We've posted information on the website, Facebook, and via our email list. And then, obviously, any past due accounts next month, obviously, we'll be getting notices again. So we've had a number already come and paid a good portion towards it, trying to get ahead of it. So hopefully.
Can they be shut off then?
No, unfortunately, well, I guess I don't know by March 25th if things changed. Currently, no, they can.
Okay.
but they would obviously start accruing late fees, so.
Thank you.
So do we need a motion just to, we're going to continue or just?
Nope, you don't have to,
Okay,
just for discussion point.
okay. Sounds good. Next item?
So, yeah, we have the sanitary and sewer inspection ordinance. I know we reviewed it at the last meeting. Oh, and then he just left. Oh, okay. So I know, it was brought up about, what basically constitutes noncompliance, because the ordinance is somewhat vague. I think part of that is to allow you to change kind of your form to show what is considered noncompliance. So if you go on page 59, that's a copy or a sample of what the inspection form would look like. So bullet points of what would be considered non-compliant.
Dale just wanted to make a note that if we do get something going with all these televised reports, to him or Jared have to be there to verify that that was the sewer at that address, and that we keep a good file of that on record for each. Not that the sewer guy inspects one good one and just hands that picture off to 10 other guys, and gets his money.
Yeah.
That was what Dale had a concern with. He's got chicken scratch here, so if I find something else, go on. Yep, that's basically what he wanted to note, if we do, to keep a good record of that. Goes with the property, goes with us.
So I had a bunch of stuff on this. I'll try to move it along quick so I don't hold us here too long. Page 59, right where you were at, John, I'll just pick it up there since you brought us there. Where it says compliance and non-compliance, you move down the list. Camera underwater, blockage, things of this nature, tree roots. What are the corrective actions to bring compliance? So let's say we have tree roots in there. Can somebody just get a roto-rooter and cut them, and then they decide that it's in compliance? Or who's deciding if it's in compliance, and what would be the corrective action there? I feel like there should be some written standard procedures for things like that. Let's say the tree roots grew through and busted it open a great deal. Can they just get the roots cut out, and then it's now in compliance, and they're just going to have the same issue again? Or is it something where, by camera, our public works director decides that, hey, this is busted up too much, you got to replace? I mean, as far as bringing it in compliance, it seems like there needs to be some sort of written standard procedures for each of those non-compliance.
Well, if you had tree roots in there, you'd probably be checked internal sewer line problem also, because that would probably be, the integrity would be broken.
Right. So, I mean, I'm just wondering who makes the call, and what is the acceptable corrective action, and who makes the call as to whether or not it's now in compliance? And
Right. Because, I mean, 99% of the time, the tree roots are not much bigger than hair.
Yeah.
I understand, but
Yeah.
there shouldn't be.
Could be worse, but that's what they
Yep.
usually end up.
But if we're gonna do it, and we're trying to get rid of that I&I, anything with a joint right now should be non-compliant. It should be plastic from the street to the house.
Well, that's the part that I'll be really frank, I struggled with this. There isn't a house, unless it was built where you guys lived, that would pass this thing. I'll guarantee you 99% of any of these houses in town are gonna have some, with the clay, a slight crack in that clay run. I'm just saying, it's the truth of the matter. So I'm saying is you're basically gonna say every one of these are gonna have to get dug up in this town, or 80% of them.
Yep.
And that was what I was kind of missing here. Is this something that, should we approve it, it's going to be required on all sales? I must have missed something here. Is
I
that-
mean, and there again, this is only if you're selling your house and you're moving out, you know what I mean?
Right.
Not everybody, everybody's not selling and moving out.
Everybody in the country who's selling now pretty much putting in a new sewer and a mound system before you could even sell a house. Because that's where it's going. If it ain't new and up to snuff, it's gotta be fixed. And some of this, though, if we do get this project going, it's gonna have to be done.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, that project goes hand in hand with this. If this project goes through, they were talking about sewers to the houses. So this is already gonna get done, but if not, this is gonna become necessary.
Were they doing the sewers that
They were talking about quite a few service lines being replaced, yeah.
In the project, yeah. You'd be,
service sewer lines or service water lines?
Sewer,
Because of the
because of the
INI.
INI.
because, yeah.
Because that's where a lot of it's coming from. And if we're gonna spend all this money, we need to fix the problem at sources.
That's why I think holding off on this particular policy for a little bit to find out if we're gonna have funding to do sewer to houses, to kind of hold off and maybe fine tune this a little bit too, because, you know, if people are gonna end up getting in this project area, get them replaced to the house, if it doesn't go through, this is gonna become necessary because we have too much I&I. And we're gonna have problems at our ponds again. You know, we had that wet season and we were out of compliance because of the I&I, and now you can see with a dry season how bad it really is. So if this project doesn't go the way that it should, in my opinion, I guess to get people's sewers taken care of to their homes, this is going to become an important policy, but I don't know that it needs to be pushed through right now, and I feel like there's a lot of fine tuning on it. Like as far as the penalties, you know, what are the penalties if people don't come in compliance, and the penalties need, because it says in, that, and I don't know what page it's on, but it said, from time to time, the council, you know, can, give somebody a penalty. I think I think it needs to be uniform. It needs to
Yes,
be
so you would set that in your fee schedule every year.
Okay.
So that would be another item that would be added, and so when it says council time to time, it's when you're reviewing your fee schedule, if that needs to be, you know, updated, that's when it would. So you don't want to have that fee listed in the ordinance, because then you're changing the ordinance every time you want to change the fee.
57 here.
I agree that we should hold off a little bit till we see where we're going with our project, because I know SCH had that all figured in to go right up to the house from the street because of the I&I, and if that's gonna be included, it's gonna make it life easier for a lot of people.
Yeah.
The other
Whereas
thing
if we jump on this right now,
But I mean, did they have it included as part of the project? Or was that gonna be homeowners' cost?
part of the project, if I remember right, is that not right, Josh?
No, I-
Because
I thought it had a lot to do with assessments.
Yes, I thought it was all gonna get us, that's what, when I was sitting here listening, I thought that was assessed along, so they're gonna get assessed for this, they're gonna get assessed for the streets, so.
I don't think the ones to the house were
I thought
assessments.
the ones to the house were included, the streets, yeah,
The
that's.
street was the assessment.
That's gonna be
because
the
of how much
assessment.
RD covers for asphalt and because they don't cover storm sewer,
But he didn't get real deep into that, but we talked.
to my recollection.
On, about all the
See, now that-
I&I from
we're
them
jumping
sewers.
ships, but that's where I was going with them. R&D, they don't cover the asphalt, but I think the state. That's where I was getting in on it, where they don't cover certain things, but you can get it in the bonding from the state.
The RD does, and they actually widened how much asphalt they cover now. It just changed last
They
year.
just changed it. It's,
They cover
So I'm
quite a
saying,
bit
that's
more.
why I was after.
Yeah, I get what you were
You want a
saying.
Heinz 57, you
Right.
get it all the avenues, you can
Yep.
get money where one won't cover it.
A couple other quick things I just had on here. As far as it's saying that if a house is built within the last 10 years, that it doesn't need one, but everybody has to get one. You know, it's only good on an old home every 5 years. I think that needs to be uniform as well. In one way or another, you know.
I believe if you're gonna
Because
hit one, you
the
gotta
line
hit them
can
all.
be added at any time in 10 years. I'm just saying.
Right.
Right, does make it look a little weird, because, well, even like you guys live out there, most of them homes are, majority of them are more than 10 years old.
Now they are, I think, they're over 10.
Don't look at me. I just built there 2 years ago. I have no idea what
I
this
just lived
there.
I'm personally of the opinion that this doesn't need to get pushed through right away unless, for some reason, SEH, I mean, especially with the potential of this project coming up, and then there just needs to be some fine tuning. So I don't know if this is something that everybody would like to table, or what do you all feel?
I mean, is there anything affecting it through SEH that we can't table it?
No, well,
Okay.
the only, I mean, one of the main reasons why I was bringing it forward was because when we first started looking at the project, John from SEH had said that we should have some sort of, but, I mean, and that was when it was early on, and we maybe didn't realize the, you know.
The scope?
Yeah, the large scope of the project, and so,
That didn't come up till later with the services getting replaced from the street. It came
yeah,
up
so
later.
that could have been right away saying, hey, we should do this now, and then they found out, well, most of the services probably are gonna need to get replaced anyways, so, yeah, we certainly could table it for a
think
couple
we
of
should.
months.
Do we need a motion to table?
I would say if you want to do it for a certain period of time, to have the council agree on some time period to table it.
I think we should table it, well, you guys, next 6 months.
Can we just table indefinitely? Or do you want to do 6 months?
You make a motion.
See fit with our project.
Well, we want a time for sure that we're going to revisit. I motion to table for 6 months.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right? Anything else, John, on your end?
Not on that, no.
Okay. See what we got here. All right, we'll move into new business here. All right, let's see if we can knock this out in a half hour. Sidewalk ordinance review.
So I've got our ordinance on page 60, and then the consecutive, how many pages following. Got Glencoe's, Hutchinson's, Lester Prairie, one from Princeton, and then also Winstead. So just kind of wanted to get feedback from the council. Reading through them, a lot of them are similar with, time periods, 24 hours, 48 hours, to have cleared, if you don't, they're able to go in. I know Winstead kind of caught my eye where they actually outline which sidewalks need to follow, so they likely have other ones that aren't included in their policy, so, maybe some residential away from the center of the city might not need to get cleaned.
So do these cities follow the same procedures what you're doing? Like what our city attorney? Sending a letter out and a week later?
So as far as their actual procedure, if they're doing this to the T, or if they're just kind of like us, our ordinance says we can go in, but, are they sending letters? That I'm not aware of.
I think if the point is for them to be open and safe, waiting till after a letter's sent to clean them is kind of defeating the purpose. I think that the public works director's got, and I think we discussed this before, the public works director had discretion to go in and take them if it was after the allotted time.
Yeah, so, and from an attorney standpoint, they're saying that, if somebody were to fight it, I guess they're going to argue that, well, I was never notified that I had to clean it up, and so then, you might not end up getting anything out of it.
Technically, the city ordinance is your notification.
Yeah, I get that, but
We're supposed to know all of them ordinances.
yeah.
It's common sense.
So that's why
Yeah.
that's why they're telling us to, deliver it each time.
But it's the same thing that I was sharing with you on a couple of them. Well, they haven't cleaned them. Then it snows again. So are you sending them a letter based on the latest snowfall or the 3 snowfalls before?
Well, and that's the thing. That's what's happening, is that by the time they're getting that notice, it snowed again. And so then it's like, well, it's tough for us to prove when did it,
You're cleaning the bottom 6 inches or the top 2
exactly.
inches?
So, so you're kind of always caught in that, oh, it just snowed again. Well, now we have to wait, another 24, 48 hours. So, we did have one clean now this last week because there was enough time in between, and they hadn't shoveled, I don't think, all year. But
So I thought Princeton's was interesting. 12 hours from 8 a.m. the first day after the snowfall. You have 12 hours. That was an interesting one there. I wonder.
That day, basically, the next day.
kind of
Means you better get out there and shovel, boy.
And I can understand some people may be out of town, or maybe somebody's injured, or, you know what I mean?
You know, the other thing is I had an interesting person brought it up to me is, 60% of this town, you gotta walk on the streets anyway. There is no sidewalks.
Yeah.
Right.
In my mind, Main Street should be the only one. Because half, like you said, half the town don't have them.
Well, I shared this with John, just in the case on the block where we live, and even Dale said it, you know, if you're gonna make people clear their sidewalks, then the city should clear the ends of them. So people can even get on the sidewalks. When it's piled up 5
Yeah.
feet tall or 4 feet tall on the ends on the street, you know, they can't blame the city guys. Well, they can't get on the sidewalk anyway.
Okay, so I brought this up last year. I brought up the idea of abandoning the sidewalks in the wintertime when it gets to be that much snow, because the city needs a place to plow the snow to as well.
I'm not disputing it, yeah.
Yeah. You know? I don't know if there's a liability in the idea that somebody would then be walking down the road, but
Yeah, I don't like that. The families with
Street where
kids.
there are no sidewalks.
it gets, yeah, that's true. It
Yeah.
gets so
It's
built
not
up though
that
that,
Take a look at where you guys live, there's no sidewalks.
No sidewalk.
No, but if a kid is walking to school, you want them to walk on the sidewalk as much as possible.
They don't.
You want them to.
But I know that I avoid unless, I walk on Century Lane because I have to, but then I walk on all the sidewalks. And this actually drives me nuts because I have a double stroller. And if there's rubbish, if there's dirt, if there is anything, that thing is a bear to push. And it drives me nuts. So,
Now comes the point as ice storm. You got a half an inch of ice on that sidewalk. Under that snow, you clear it. It's almost worse than if you left that inch of snow on there. Because you're not going to get them people out there to dump salt on the sidewalk
Right.
and get it scraped down to the concrete.
that's true.
Now, who's liable on that? That's another itchy, stitchy situation.
On all these ones in here though, that if you read through them, it's all, the ice has to be off too.
Yeah.
I know that,
Yeah.
but there's pretty rare when you see it.
I don't have a problem personally with our deal of clearing the sidewalks, but I really think we have to fine tune this somehow, so just like what John said, somebody doesn't clear their sidewalk and it snows again, well, now, how long does it take for you to actually get the letter out to people and somebody go to clear it?
Yeah, so do we have a more efficient way of informing them?
Can we hang something on their door?
We certainly could. Not all of the properties have doors, or it's rented to somebody, so we have to give the notice to the owner
Oh.
because we can't rely on the renter, so then,
Some of these do mention,
and those some of the ones are the issue where it's somebody renting a house and they're not cleaning it. Well, then you have to let the owner know, well, they live in
I can tell you
wherever.
with the door knockers, we've used them in utilities, and I can't tell you how many of them you see in the gutter. Like, you just blew off somebody's door.
So what's the ramification, what's the drawback if it's not cleaned in our time that somebody cleans it? Somebody can fight it and they don't have to pay it.
Put it on their
Well,
assess.
what I'm saying, if they fight it and they don't pay it, it's probably better off than somebody falling down and breaking a leg on it. I mean, we're gonna get, if we clean 5 of them and they fight it and they can get a lawyer and save their $100, it's gonna cost them more than that.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna cost us lawyer time too.
Well, but I'm also
yeah.
saying is we're worried about liability. It's better off that it's cleaned than
What?
if,
But the liability
Isn't
falls
the
on
liability
the
falls
homeowner.
on the homeowner. If it's a sidewalk in front of their property, it's the homeowner's liability, not the city's.
right.
Right.
do they pay the
That's
whole-
what I was told
Do
when I
they
had
pay the
those.
whole cost when the sidewalks are bad to get them fixed?
Yeah, they do. We've had a program where we have been paying 50% if
Right.
we determine they're bad, just to kind of incentivize people to get them. But
So
otherwise, they
That means we own half them sidewalks.
we gave them 50% of the cost to replace the sidewalk.
Wait a second, they
Allow
have,
them to maintain.
Owners to maintain sidewalk in front of their property.
the property owner has to pay for a sidewalk in this town?
Uh-huh.
I would just choose not to have a sidewalk.
If it's there, you have to.
Yeah.
It's in all them papers.
But then
over
it's
there.
mine, right? So I can do whatever I want with it?
No, it's in the right of way. So technically, it's not, but it is your responsibility. I went over this.
Well, and I think if we don't say, I'm not sure, because I'm not an attorney, but if we don't say you need to clean your sidewalk, then, and we push all the snow up there, then somebody gets hurt. Now, we are kind of putting ourselves in liability's way there. Don't you think?
But when you get enough snow, you abandon them, and then you just plow them shut. Because there's been instances where we've had to abandon sidewalks already because there's just too much snow. You have to say, forget it, bury them, because we need the streets. So then technically, you shouldn't be walking on it because there technically isn't a sidewalk there when it's this deep of snow.
True.
But we could all day.
But I mean, I guess I kind of look at it as it's no different than with your earlier report with the ticketing on the cars. Well, guess what? Somebody gets their sidewalk cleaned once or twice, they're going to clean their sidewalk. No different than not getting their car towed away or ticketed.
Exactly.
But I still go back to, how can we get it so it doesn't snow 3 times before they ever get a letter, or ever get to that point?
Yeah.
That's where the sticker really is. I mean, it's not getting cleared, our process, they aren't getting cleared in 24 hours. We don't have a recourse to do it.
But it's the same people, so even if John sends one and it snows again and again, he's gonna get that same address 3 snows later, again on his desk, that it wasn't shoveled. It's just like the cars parking, it's the same group all the time. Eventually, his letter's gonna catch up to him, and it's not gonna snow for 3 days in between, and you can hit him.
Well, it hasn't snowed for how long?
Yep, they should be out clearing anyone that's got snow on it.
Did one on Friday. I think, well, part of the issue is Public Works is turning in the list. They're likely not getting into it until after they've cleared all the snow, and so that, they're concentrating on clearing snow before they're getting us a list of sidewalks. And so then we get them, maybe 2 days after it initially snowed, and then depending on, was it a weekend or whatever, and then we have to allow some mail time.
Right, and that's the bad part. Them guys are busy when it's snowing. They don't have time to drive around and look at these dumb sites, but
Well, when it's snowing, a lot of these are 24 hours or whatever, so it's usually after it's cleared, I would think. But-
then they're usually stacking and hauling
Yeah.
and pushing up corners. Like John said, it's 2 days minimum after snow before they got time to go look these over.
So again, I go back, then, okay, then we make this ordinance 5 days. I mean, that's what it's turning into. They don't get them cleared for 5 days. So why are we having it at 24 if we're not gonna do it in 24? I mean, I'm just being frank. We can't get to it and we can't get them cleared until, sounds crazy, 5 days. Why do we make it 24 hours?
No, why don't we
Right.
just make it a happy medium of 3 days?
I mean, our guys can't even get the city sidewalks, all of them taken care of usually within 24 hours.
Right.
So you shouldn't be realistic on a homeowner doing it in 24 hours either, but. Like I said, I would say abandon everything except your business, Main Street. To me, that's,
Well, you'd probably have to do it going down to the school.
Lake and
you
Grove.
know.
I mean, yeah, you could touch it up just
What
like
did
the
you say
Winstead
one
one.
city had, they designate certain sidewalks?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Winstead's
Yeah,
got-
Winstead has each one on there what's cleared, and I think the rest are,
So they have residential ones that they don't touch, they don't enforce.
it looks like it.
That's page 69. I mean, I don't know how much residential sidewalk they have, but there's not a whole lot of,
They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A through E. The sidewalks north and south of Main, west between First and Third, it's just like certain little sections.
I need a map.
It looks like it's all uptown. Main Street, First, Main.
I think a lot of people probably do abandon the residential ones because sometimes those roads are narrow and there's just not a lot of place to put that snow and it costs too much to haul it away.
And on a bad year, that happens here. Them streets get real tight.
Bruce was saying too, then they push in the end. I mean, I could be 3-4 feet tall when they're pushing in the end. and you
Solid,
gotta go- And solid as a rock,
hard.
and you gotta go shovel that out.
Yep. I know, I do a lot of shoveling.
I don't know. I mean, I get emails on this thing, so that's why John has this on here, and I want to email back to the people if we found an answer or not. I mean, it's just not working the way it is. Let's be frank.
I would personally support the idea of allowing the residential ones that aren't on the main drags going to the school or businesses to be abandoned if they want to, you know? I guess if one neighbor does, it's gonna be a dead end right there, you know, if the other neighbor decides not to.
Well, that's the way it's happening now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe
'Cause
we should.
There's a lot of people not doing
There's a
it.
few, yeah.
Maybe we should get a little input and maybe look at a route like Main Street to Lake, to the school, and then the one by the bank, you know, that square there. Maybe that's the way we'll have to do it.
I mean, if you really look at how our city's set up, it's set up so screwy. 'Cause, I mean, I'll just go in the area like where I live on Frank Street. Why is there sidewalks on one side of the street and not the other?
It's the same on,
And then they just end.
Yep. I don't have one on the end of Cleveland, but
Yeah.
it starts at Grove and goes this way, and then one house from the corner, it stops.
yes. Yep.
You know,
No rhyme, I mean, there must have been a little lead on them days, because there's no rhyme or reason for the sidewalks, none. But, I don't know,
So-
maybe we should do that.
Yeah.
Work on a
Well,
route.
Get a map and just kind of drop a couple different routes, you know, maybe to school or something, and then, you know, along Main Street, obviously, but,
Mhm.
and then bring back a list of those.
well, I'm just saying is I don't want to, being selfish, I don't want to be answering these emails and by the time we get it solved, it's going to be June.
There's always next winter.
Well, winter's always coming back.
Yeah.
Okay, well, at least okay.
can hope.
But how are we going to enforce, the thing that keeps getting thrown up at me is we have an ordinance, how come we're not enforcing it?
Well, there's that.
Simply put, if we're going to change the ordinance, or we should go by the one we have, one or the other.
Yeah.
Figure out a way to enforce the one we have, or take it off the books. I don't, it's just,
I feel like personally identifying critical routes and allowing the opportunity to abandon the other ones in residential areas. That's my opinion on it.
abandon them in the winter, you mean, not
Yeah,
just.
in the
get-
winter.
in the winter.
Yep, in the wintertime, November through April or whatever, you know.
Don't put a date on it,
No,
put
I
a
suppose
season
that-
on it.
yeah.
Snow season.
Yeah.
Well, we could follow the same as on the
Parking.
streets. I mean, make it simple so people can't say they don't know. Yeah, well, okay, so how are we going forward? I just got an email back, that's all.
I would say discuss it with Public Works Director, also probably, Public Safety too, you know what I mean? And see if these main routes and down to the school are the way to go, and go from there, present the idea back. I don't know who would do that, but not gonna be me.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can get some input on the routes. I mean, should I also, and I'll pose the question to our attorney as far as, well, what can we do with our ordinance where we don't have to have this huge notification process, you know? Is there a way we can do it without having that?
Isn't that something that can be, you know, again, still not an attorney, but is that something that can be posted in, you know, the city offices, the post office kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, we typically post it at the beginning of the year on like Facebook, and we have it on our website. In the newsletter we sent out, we put it in there too, you know, we try to get it out to people, but
Because I'd like to know if, let's say, the city attorney says, well, you could do it this way or that way. To me, that kind of snowballs into blight, too. We might be able to find a way around it, because there's a pretty lengthy time sometimes for blight, the same thing, and pretty soon the grass is 2 feet tall.
you know,
Well, let's see if there's a way, you know, to roll the two together.
okay.
All right, so I think we should, the action is you're gonna check with the attorney and you're gonna come up with a route for the next meeting? I'll email that
I'll
one.
chat with Dale,
Okay.
see what he
Okay.
thinks.
Thank you.
Bruce just figured out how he's wording it.
Okay. Let's see, if that's okay, we'll move on. The resolution for the Board of Appeal.
Motion to approve Resolution 21-7.
Is there a second?
Second.
And any other discussion? That is on April 6th,
April 5th,
April 5th, and at what time?
6 PM.
6 PM, same as normal. Okay. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next one is Resolution 21-08, approving the waive monetary limits on municipal, what is that? Tort liability. What's that one, Johnny?
That's, oh, good.
Well, Josh, if you want to take it, go for it.
That's the one where they set limits.
Oh,
So
yeah.
they set limits. If we
tort.
remove the limits, somebody could potentially sue for more. So I make a motion to accept Resolution 21-8.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Oh, I forgot to aye on that, sorry.
You're good. Resolution 21-09, approving workers' compensation insurance premiums.
So we received the rates for March of 2021 through March of 2022, totaling $21,378. We still might see a 10% discount on the fire department portion, waiting for non-smoking status forms to be turned in. So it could be a little bit lower than what you're seeing there. That's why I've got the not to exceed amount. Obviously quite a bit less than 2021, obviously without the police department, that's a big chunk of it, but also our rates, and I noted in the kind of that information. So it's based on the last 3 years of claims, and a very large claim year dropped off in 2016, and so our rates came dramatically lower.
So this is based on regular, like normal workman's comp, the 3 years. The question I got on this is, what was spent in 2020, did that, being the PD was dissolved, was there any, you weren't paying workman's comp for no PD?
So, yep, so they're going to be doing their audit in the next probably 3 to 4 weeks, and so they'll go back and look through all of our wages from last year. So if we had less than what we had originally paid for, then we get an
Okay.
adjustment, yep. So you'll see a likely, I mean, yeah, with the 5 months or, 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
Yep.
So they audit it?
Yep, they come and audit it,
Okay.
yep.
Motion to approve Resolution 21-9.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next one's Resolution 21-10, approving property casualty insurance premiums.
So I have not received our quote on that. I just wanted to have it in the packet, just in case it was received by the meeting. So we'll just have to wait until next month for that one.
So we're going to table this one?
Yep.
Motion to table Resolution 21-10.
Is there a
Second.
second? Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next one is Resolution 21-11, approving on-site gambling for the Silver Lake Lions Club.
Last year, the council approved to have me sign off on state gambling applications. This, because it is for the specific type of permit off-site gambling, so they already have a license at the liquor store, but because they're going to be conducting it here at the auditorium this Saturday, the city council needs to approve a resolution allowing them to do so. So that is why we're looking at this.
Okay,
A motion to approve the off-site gambling for the Silver Lake Lions Club.
is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Computer doesn't go any farther.
Ran out of pages. Broken, John.
You notice their new pen, this Wickert's pen,
Yeah,
does it?
all right. So we got open discussion. Does anybody come up with what they're going to do?
Look at me.
I haven't put mine in writing, but mine's obviously that campground down there. Moving forward, I'd really like to see that happen.
What, your 6 month
6 month.
that you asked
Something
for?
outside of what your liaison and stuff, or just something to do for the city. Well, what idea you had? Maybe.
Well, I had two.
Okay.
One is to promote, advertise, and sell the city lots. I'm working on that. Might have that done within 2 months. My other one is to get that dump site the way we need it to be down at the, at our building. Cleaned up, moved around, and just more presentable and easier access, and keep the big boys from all the other towns from crawling in there. And
Okay, that sounds like a winner. It's kind of part of your liaison work.
but it wasn't, I was on this last year, wasn't I? I was all on board for this, and it didn't all get done, but
Okay?
still.
Oh, that's good.
I'm working on them city lots, promoting them, pushing them. I've been in contact with 3 people on them. I got one.
I think we should all be pushing those, but I mean, that's good.
Right,
Right.
right.
Your turn.
Oh, can't Sandy go first? Second, third?
We're gonna bring this up every meeting, so you might as well. Sandy, you can go.
Okay, so my thought is, he stole one of mine, but, I was gonna, on those lots, no, seriously. I haven't come up with anything yet. I don't wanna make a change for the sake of making a change. I really wanna see what it is I need to do, so.
Okay. Well, you know, I mean, it sounds crazy. I mean, I'll tell you what mine is, but I mean, it can be something really minor that can go a long ways. But before I do mine, did you come up with yours yet?
I have a whole list. I'm trying to decide which one
Well,
I
just
wanna
remember,
share.
you're shooting for 6 months, so don't make the list too big.
So I thought a read aloud in the auditorium, for young kids, kind of to,
It's cool.
and have books, so there's actually a series of books, kind of to encourage, civic participation and show that, because there'd be like a little informational thing before each one or after
That's
each
great.
book reading to kind of
Right.
show what city council does and
Right, okay,
So.
that's great. I got actually 2. One, I don't know if anybody's seen that, John put it out there, and when I say it, it can be small things, so I'm trying to build up the PR as far as the city goes. And actually had John's helping me with it a little bit. I'm actually trying to get, for anybody 90 and over, I'm gonna be sending out birthday cards.
That's
to-
what that was.
Yeah. I'm gonna
People
send-
were worried.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm gonna
they
send out
were.
birthday cards. Oh, well, the only way I can send out birthday cards to them, 90 on up, is if they tell us how old they are.
Well, there.
You know, so-
People thought you were a creeper.
well, they're probably right. And the other thing is I'm working on, which is probably gonna take more than 6 months. I've been doing some research about getting electronic sign out in front of this auditorium, so get these different organizations, like, let's just say, Lions Raffle, or Lions Brunch and such a day, one of them electronic ones out there.
So you could put out a message.
Yeah,
Yeah.
messages, the different organizations, I was gonna go to them, they can put on, like, Civic Beanbag Tournament on August 28th or something like that. I think it looks a little more professional.
I like that
Yeah.
idea a lot.
Like when the Legion has their breakfast.
Yeah.
Their little sign.
Right.
That'd be great.
Yeah. So anybody else have for open?
I just have a question. As far as my duties going forward with community development, do I also do the pool and stuff
Mhm.
too? Okay, all right.
And
I was
the
not
other
aware.
thing is, part of it is if it works out, you should, as part of it, I think, with the townships, you should, it wouldn't be a bad idea when they have their meeting, their annual meeting, like when the ambulance or the fire department goes. You can't make them all, but you could pick one. It's not a bad idea to be a representative of the city there. That's how that originally way back was set up.
Okay, and go to the township meetings then too?
Yeah, I'm sure they're all on the same night, aren't they?
Yeah, it's coming up
The
here.
annual meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, March 9th is mine at 2 PM in the afternoon.
Nice.
All right. What I'm saying is, because our firemen and our ambulance go there with their budgets asking for, for funds.
Okay.
If you can make it, great. That's how it was originally set up. But yeah, you got the pool. That's fun.
Make sure to stay on that, so that's open June 1st.
Yeah, I'll have to.
That's a good point. How was that left?
They got their demo done.
But I mean, how was it left in the big picture for the,
The goal was to get it open by this year's startup. Is
Well, that's what they said, they would get
Yeah.
it done.
They said that they would have it done by startup.
June 1st to be complete.
Yeah, well, now what about with COVID though?
well, that was
COVID
cool.
was going when they started.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So did they ever get the demo done that they were talking about?
Demo's
Yep.
done.
Demo's done at, what, $18,000 worth?
At least on the concrete and on the mushroom, which is now gone. That demo's done.
Yep.
There might still be some on the racing and things like that, but
But they got done pretty much what they wanted to. Me and Dale talked about that too. They're about where they wanted to be.
So the final thing was agreed to them with the previous thing is what, brought back right to, everything back to where it was, or was there things not going back in? I don't know.
The mushroom is gone.
Gone?
That has that under
Okay.
pool leak
Yep.
that they eliminated.
looking at the potential for something in the future.
Another kitty
Yeah.
water attraction. Otherwise,
Okay.
it's gonna be the same.
And they're saying they agreed to have it open June 1st.
Yeah, I think in the thing it said May 31st or whatever, but yeah.
Okay,
Well,
that's
if
good.
that's my department, I'll get on it, I'll find out.
There you go.
Contract, I know you stickled for that.
Yeah, I went down there and met with them on it too, so,
Yep, yep.
all right.
Okay,
They looked like they were hammering away.
all right. Does anybody else have anything else? If not, need a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.
We might